welcome back to the latest chapter of Higurashi, Chapter 7. This is Minagoroshi. We're going to be starting this, and I have no clue what's going on in this one, but I do have a clue. The Steam icon tells me something. And the Steam icon shows me the face of a purple-haired girl we've never seen before, closer to lilac than the deep purple that is Rika's. I don't know who she is, but I can confidently tell you that when we saw new sprites for Shion, she died fairly horribly, and she was the icon once. We've seen a sprite for Tepe in the last arc, and well, he died horribly. And we were introduced to this new one-off character, Rina, and she died horribly. So I wonder what's going to happen with this new character we've literally never met before. I'm sure she'll be fine. Anyway, without much further ado, let's get started. Oh, that's an interesting arc. Minagoroshi, the final truth, the massacre chapter. Oh, that doesn't end well. I mean, the last one sounded okay and everyone died. The last two arcs actually sounded okay and everyone died to them. We literally had a bad end where Reina literally detonated a bomb in the school, killing every single person inside of it. It's a little bit gruesome, but they're saying it's going to be worse. This is the massacre chapter? Oh no. Anyway, the background here is decidedly concerning. We have, like, fragments of reality within the void. Like, all of space-time is breaking apart. Or these are, like, fragments of, like, timelines or dimensions. I have no clue what's going on here, but this is a bit worrying. Now, this story introduces the unit inside and out, using all the actors. This is no longer a story, it's a public autopsy for all to join. And as they say, after loving someone, cut open their belly and eat their organs? Wait, what? Like, I read the line, but I didn't actually comprehend what I was reading and had to, like, stop for a second there. Okay. After loving someone, cut open their belly and eat their organs. I've never heard that as advice. It's the same with stories. The difficulty is quite mild, well suited for those with pride. Thanks, game. Thanks. Like, oh, for those of you who hate losing, this game is suited for you because you won't lose. Hey, yeah. Alright, this is gonna be fun. This is gonna be fun. Okay. I've never heard that saying, but I guess, maybe it's less offensive in Japanese.
Senpai?
Or maybe it's simply a reference to their process at the Watanagashi festival of cutting people open and eating and cannibalizing them. Or at least ripping out their organs, you know, torturing them to death, ripping out their organs. That was the origin of the festival. We know that for a fact now. Ooh, hello. We're in, like, the space between worlds or some shit here. It looks really weird. Okay. What are you doing? I don't see you playing by yourself that often. All you could do before was nod to my question. Since when do you have your own will? I'm glad. I finally have a sister, or a brother. Whichever you are. I used to be an existence of nothingness, just like you. But one day, I began to have my own identity, my own thoughts, and eventually my own body. So it's not a surprise to see you in possession of your own will. Welcome to this vast yet tiny world, my sister. That sounds like a very generous person. You might be my brother, but let me call you my sister until I know for sure. This is an endless, eternal, and infinite world. But what that doesn't mean is that it's boundlessly vast. Okay, so it's endless, eternal, and infinite, but it's not boundlessly vast? I'm not sure I can understand something like that. Perhaps there's an explanation coming up. That'll be forthcoming. I suppose you could describe it like a ring with a small diameter. Okay. I think I understand now. So if you imagine a ring, the kind that goes on your finger, it is technically infinite. It's endless. It's infinite and endless because you could trace it in a circle and it would never end, right? Therefore, it's infinite. There's the path along it never ends, and there's no, like, terminal point if you follow it. Oh, that makes sense. If you follow it along, like, the plane, along like the plane of its surface. That makes sense. Okay. Eternal. Well, they can represent eternity. Okay. Okay. I'm on board with this. While the ring is an eternal, endlessly looping world, that doesn't mean it contains infinite space. In short, this world is eternally sealed. The future is supposed to be an infinite weave of countless choices, yet for whatever reason our world always ends in death. If I were to compare it to something, perhaps a maze of fate would be appropriate. I mean, if Rika knew what Keiichi knew, then she'd know that you could evacuate everyone from the village, right? And no one would die? Presumably it's just like a gas attack, so people can escape. Living through the same moments forever steadily grows harder and more dejecting, eventually producing something like me. And then as that draws further on, even one like you is born, and eventually this world may be filled with your sisters too. After that, we'll build a colony inside it, and once we lose our interest in this maze, Rika Furude will disappear from this world. It looks like you still cling to this narrow world, Rika. Though I lost interest long ago. Which is why I'm truly glad you were born for me to talk to. So what are you doing? Are you collecting fragments of memory? There's only 5 or 6 of them right now. It must still be fun for you, though. There used to be more fragments long ago. One by one, they disappeared into the darkness. 6 fragments of memory, aka 6 titles we've completed. Interesting. And there's clearly images from, like, the past arcs here playing out, so presumably that's what they're referencing. Okay. So one by one they disappear into the darkness. Now these are the only ones that remain clear. Oh, that's not how you're supposed to use it. See? Try and hold it up to the light. All of it. It's the life of Rika Furude and its end. Oh, we can escape this, though. We can escape this. That one is... Oh, I remember that one. That's the world when Keiichi was cursed. Those fragments are like books to me, so I titled that one Onikakushi Chapter. That would be the name of the first game, which is also the one where Keiichi was cursed. And yeah, titled Onikakushi. Correct. We're a little bit meta, much like the end of Danganronpa V3. We're getting a little bit meta here. Do you remember what happened in that one? I do. Good, that makes things easier. I go to my... Alright, 3. In Onikakushi, Keichimaibara was consumed by the darkness. He couldn't accept the kind words his friends offered him, and eventually beat them to death, not knowing of their kindness. We were all killed after that anyway. That had nothing to do with his story, though. That fragment is the Watanagashi chapter. Shion Sonozaki was cursed in that one. She killed many people out of revenge for her boyfriend's disappearance as he went missing in 1982. She wasn't entirely wrong to pursue some of those, I would say. Rika worked so hard, but she was captured at the end and tortured to death. That's why she chose to commit suicide in the Miyakashi chapter, because things were going to turn out the same way. That fragment over there is called the Tatarigoroshi chapter. Ah, Satoko chapter. Satoko's uncle came back and locked her up inside the house. The uncle only got a sprite in the previous arc, though, where he fucking died. That was the worst world of all. There was nothing Rika was able to do in that world. Whenever Satoko's uncle comes back, Rika usually gives up in that world. Fortunately, Satoko's uncle doesn't come back that frequently. That one's called the Tsumi Poroboshi chapter. Oh, the previous chapter. Rika was there until just a moment ago. Yep. Reina Ryugu was possessed in that world. Yep, seems about right. I don't even know how I opened that time. It was pretty exciting to see her take over the whole school. It was exciting, and it was exciting to see the resolution of it. For sure. It surprised me to learn that Keichimaibara had a memory of the other worlds just like we do. It was pretty amazing, but then most of us have some kind of memory like that. We all have an imaginary world within us, some idea of what would have happened if you did things differently. It's like the strange feeling you get when you do something for the first time, but it feels like you've done it before. Everyone has a memory of an imaginary world in their mind, but the memory is not always that clear. It's not surprising, really. You're special enough to be able to see those fragments of memory. It's probably very difficult for you to understand how special you really are. Oh, thanks. I'm special. You were born into a world where it's a natural thing for you to see these fragments. I was originally born in the normal world. I didn't know until recently I could collect these fragments of memory. You grabbed them because you could, and I didn't know how to do that for a long time. I mean, personally, I still don't know how to do that in real life. That'd be really handy. I'm sorry, I'm sure you're not interested in hearing my story. Maybe. What? What's wrong? What are you curious about? Oh? You curious as to why so many different incidences occur in the same world? Well, it's very interesting, isn't it? Why do you think that's the case? Let's think about it together. Thinking is the first step towards playing a game. Yeah, I'm not a timeline hopper, unfortunately. At present, the way I perceive time is fairly linear in nature. Maybe one day I'll be able to escape our current timeline and exist across all timelines. The main character among Rika's group of friends is Keichimaibara. In Onikakushi, he was possessed by suspicion and killed Reina Ryugu and Mion Sonozaki. If that was an inevitable event, he would be killing them in every world. In other words, what Keiichi did in Onikakushi was not inevitable. Fair enough. Indeed. The only thing that's inevitable is Keichimaibara's role. If Keiichi was someone with a naturally suspicious heart, he would take the same actions in every world. But that didn't happen. It's true, Maibara is both passionate and easily convinced of anything, but it's rare for him to exhibit the kind of rage he displayed in Onikakushi. In other words, even though something might seem inevitable in one world, that may not be the case if you compare it to another. Okay. If something really is inevitable, it will happen for sure in every life. That's what true inevitability is like. So inevitable like everyone dying, or inevitable like Rika being murdered even though we don't know who the murderer is, or Takano dying, or Tomatake dying, all of those seem impossible to prevent because we don't even have a clue yet. And they've happened in every single timeline to our knowledge. I mean, some of the timelines ended before that happened. Or at least our perspective of them ended before that happened. It's very important that you know that. When you compare the different worlds, what's common amongst all of them is the truth. Understand? Like I said, what seems inevitable in one life could be a random event in another. The club activities that Mion suggests are a good example. If Mion had a strong inclination towards playing certain games, you would be playing them in every world. But in reality, you participate in different activities in most of them. It means that the games they play in the club are randomly decided by Mion Sonozaki. That's fair enough if you want to know if something's truly random and not heavily biased. Being able to perceive a plethora of results with seemingly no actual distribution other than like within the realm of possibility is a clear way to prove that. Not a very easy way to prove it, but you know. We now know that because we've been through many different lives. Fair enough. Those who only live in one world can't see if the event in question is inevitable or random, and we can perceive that because, you know, we see her playing different games all the time in the same scenario. That's fair. Those who only live once can't predict what's going on in Mion Sonozaki's mind, but we can. Although the activities are random, Mion Sonozaki calls us together for the club meeting almost every day in every life. I can see that Mion Sonozaki holds a strong will towards having the club meeting. That may be an inevitability. Mion Sonozaki always wants to play with the other club members, but she doesn't know what to play. See? We can read Mion's mind just by simply examining these fragments. With this alone, we can see part of who Mion Sonozaki really is. So she's someone who likes playing games. Let me talk a bit more about Keichimaibara. For those of you who only live once, the world of Onikakushi's chapter is nothing but a story where Keiichi suffered mysterious hallucinations and beat his friends to death. For them, there is nothing beyond that fact. We, however, can compare different fragments and find out something they could never see. And as a result, we know that the murder of his friends was not inevitable. I told you that just earlier. In fact, while there are about 5 or 6 pieces in front of you, he only kills his friends in one of them. He kills his friends in one, and he kills an adult man, a child abuser, the Toko's uncle in the second route. That I refer to, at least. Obviously, it's not the actual second route. That means we can roughly conclude the possibility that Keichimaibara triggers the tragedy is less than 20% and almost a fluke. Okay. That means that amongst the countless worlds Keichimaibara causing the tragedy is an unimportant factor. Now, can you find the common thread be drawn from here? There are multiple common threads here. Like I said, Tomitake's death could be a significant clue. Takano's death could be a significant clue. Since we're speaking to Rika, her own death could be a relevant clue. Everyone dying in the gas attack could be a relevant clue. Oh, you found it already? No wonder you were born in this world. You're quick to learn the knack for playing with building blocks. I didn't figure that out for a while. I was born in the normal world, so I could only see things from a single world's perspective. I was too obsessed with the fact that Keichimaibara caused the tragedy, so I had trouble finding it. Who the fuck are you? Right, that's exactly right. You see, the Onikakushi, Watanagashi, Mayakashi, and Sumihoroboshi chapters all have something in common. Someone in the group becomes violent because of dark, paranoid thoughts. In each world, either Keiichi, Shion, or Reina become violent as their delusions grow stronger. Keiichi, Shion, and Reina are my close friends, but they were all born and raised differently. The only common factor is they all live in Hinamizawa. I just said it not too long ago, though. When we peer through these fragments of multiple worlds, the constant phenomena become our facts, and the chance phenomena hold little meaning. In other words, the unrelated individual culprits are not all that important. To go further, the violence of their crimes bears no meaning. Keiichi beat his friends to death. Shion killed the central people of the 3 families, and Reina took over the school. They were all different. There's nothing common in there. In fact, very, very important truth is that while the culprit in crimes are decided at random, their process of growing paranoid until they resort to violence is a constant. The suspect changes every time, but the process does not. And after comparing the different worlds, this is the truth I found. You need to figure out who's going So, that's a better question. I was going to say, is our goal to figure out who's being paranoid and stop this tragedy from happening? Because it seems like the gas explosion's killing everyone regardless. Is the goal to stop one of these people from surrendering to madness and get like a clean playthrough? Or is the goal to save your own life so that you don't have to reset the arc? Or perhaps she's killing herself. Like, we don't know how Rika dies. We don't know how Rika dies in every single arc. It seems like a couple times she dies, it was completely unknown. So, possibly the goal is just to avoid your own demise, or maybe she's just pursuing like a clean run. I don't know. Yeah, Rika did kill herself in a couple, specifically in Mayakashi, right? She didn't want to be tortured to death, so she killed herself. But like, if Rika's the one experiencing the time loop and we're seeing it from her perspective, the question would be, if she's actually looping and not simply like her current mind going through it while her existence continues on past the timeline, although in most cases she's probably dead, like, her goal would be to escape this, in which case my first thought is, okay, problem solving. What do we know? There's some constants. So if they're talking about constants, then I'd be like, okay, there's a few constants. Can we try and change these constants? And what happens if we change them, starting with early ones? Can we change the deaths of a few people? Can we investigate and figure out why they're dying? Because we haven't done any of that yet. We don't know why Tomitake died. I mean, we have an idea. We don't know what it is. And we don't know why Takano died, but we might have an idea what could have done that. Like, we should probably get clear on the facts of the constants, if they're talking about constants. Figure out everything that's constant and why it happens. Because it's the things that might appear constant that are what you need to change. Otherwise, you'll just randomly escape your loop, right? So, like, if you're like, well, You know, if it's if you're thinking that it's someone is killing people causing you to loop, then and it's just like something that's randomly decided. So it's like, oh, okay, well if you know, if actually Mion decides to go crazy and kill people, I'll escape. Like if that's the escape condition, that would be very strange because it would basically just randomly happen at some point throughout your loops, which would mean the character really didn't need to have agency or do anything because they'd eventually escape. So I think examining things that appear constant to see if there's something that might be mutable in them might be important. Or at least something that appears constant because you've only seen so many fragments, right? It might appear constant because you've only seen 6, but it might be different in the 7th. Right. This is the one truth that's common to all the worlds of Hinamizawa. The rule is that a random person becomes violent under the influence of paranoid thoughts. This is Rule X. Okay. Keichimaibara, Shion, and Reina, pieces with no particular connection, have the potential to succumb to the rule with random probability. Okay. So one random person in the town. Of those, we know at least Keiichi, Shion, and Reina could be subject to it. Or randomly go mad. Okay. I don't know what the probability is that those pieces will be ensnared by that rule. Perhaps there's a rule to that too. Is it because these 3 are all close in age, or is it because they all live in Hinamizawa? Well, we're not detectives or police officers. It's not something a small girl like us, Rika Furude, can easily figure out. I beg to differ. You have way more time to understand how to become a police officer than any police officer does. At least we now know that there's a mysterious rule in the world of Hinamizawa. People who only live in one world have no way of knowing that. That's true. We can work with this. Well, I guess it makes us paranoid. That doesn't really help us much. I'm proud of myself for figuring that out. I guess for you, it's not particularly surprising, though. Oh, what did you say? That's right. If something is common amongst all worlds, it means it's fated to happen. Some events quickly come to mind, don't they? Jiro Tomitake and Mio Takano are always killed in those worlds. Are they, or have we simply not seen enough? Why are they killed? On top of that, they are murdered in exactly the same way in every world. They could be fated to happen, that is a thought, since there is so little variation in what happens. But it's also not clear if there's any agency involved in those that you could, or anything you could adjust. Same with the gas explosion. Like if you and everyone else evacuate, do you live? I mean, after all, Keiichi died in the previous arc due to the gas, but he didn't die in the world where he murdered Teppei Hojo, right? So that means that may not be the gas release may be standardized, but the who in terms of who it kills could be very different. It could be everyone or nobody. They might be a clean playthrough if you save the entire town. In other words, unlike our previous rule with its variability, their murders are thoroughly planned out by someone with a strong will. Yeah. Unlike someone just randomly murdering someone, these ones seem consistent. That doesn't fit with the mysterious vague Rule X that leads random individuals to violence. That means you're restarting the scenario at a specific point in time. It could have been that the random choice to kill them was already decided. Whoa, no, we started a few months early. No, that's not fair. Never mind. I was gonna argue that, but I think that might be right. I think it might be fated that someone always tries to kill them. It may not be fated that they die, though, because nobody's tried to intervene. After all, they're always murdered regardless of who falls to Rule X. Therefore, there's another rule to these worlds, a rule that says Jiro Tomitake and Mio Takano will get killed on the night of Watanagashi. Let's call it Rule Y. Alright. Do you see how funny this is? I don't quite see how it's funny. Jiro Tomitake and Mio Takano are killed in every world, right? Every time the character who gets cursed always thinks their deaths have something to do with the danger that's awaiting them. The fact that someone turns violent, Rule X, and Jiro Tomitake and Mio Takano's deaths, Rule Y, are supposed to be two independent rules, but they all link together. Everyone links them together despite their independence. Of course, one could say that's how they became ensnared in the spell of paranoia, leading them to violence to begin with. Do you think in their paranoia they notice someone's trying to lead them to link those rules together? Yeah. They notice someone trying to lead them to link those rules together. Absolutely. Uishi is leading everyone to link those together. Whoever the piece leading them is, they're the one making this stage called Hinamizawa very complicated. You should have noticed at least 2 suspicious people. Do you know who I'm talking about? That's right. Uishi and Mio Takano. Absolutely. Takano's also doing it because she keeps implying that she might be murdered for whatever she's doing. So in the arc where I think in the second arc, when we go into the shrine and she's implying that they might get murdered for this, that leads to some chaos. And the most recent arc where she implied to Reina that she might get she gave her a book that implied she might be killed by this, and then she actually gets killed. Both times it leads to paranoia, and Uishi fuels the fire in every single arc. When you compare our previous fragments, the role of the piece known as Kurado Uishi becomes clear. He's a detective who's retiring this year, in a hurry to solve the mystery of the series of deaths in Hinamizawa, and after he retires, he'll have to move away from the village. That's why he's desperate to solve the case before he has to leave Hinamizawa. Why does he have to? More like he wants to. Why is he so obsessed with the serial murders in Hinamizawa? We don't know. Well, we do. Sorry, before they reveal it, the construction site worker is his friend. The first guy who got killed. The first murder involving the manager of the construction site, as I tried to say. The victim was Uishi's close friend. And you'll see if you look at the Himatsubushi chapter. Yeah. Uishi was there when the dam conflict was at its peak. He saw how the Sonozakis took control of the Onigafuji Guardians, and he believed the Sonozaki family was pulling the strings behind the whole incident. That's why he always suspects that the Sonozakis are behind the deaths, regardless of the evidence or lack thereof. His personal biased belief, combined with his credibility as a police detective, affects the pitiable victims of persecution complexes in each world. As a result, the pitiful victims of Rule X come to accept the Sonozaki family as the identity of the unknown force their paranoia seeks. Shion Sonozaki's case was the most conspicuous one in that matter. So, yes, if the piece Uishi didn't intervene, perhaps the victims of Rule X wouldn't have resorted to such violence. So the role his piece plays is to indirectly cause the tragedy. I don't know who named him this, but Oyashiro-sama's servant is the perfect nickname for Uishi. True. The other suspicious person is Mio Takano. One would assume the only role of her piece is to amuse herself with research into Onigafuji's dreadful history and take pleasure in scaring others with these tales. However, just like Uishi, she gives them the idea that the family behind all these mysterious incidents that happen in the village. She interfered the most with Reina Ryugu. For Mio Takano, Reina Ryugu was the perfect prey, grasping at straws to try and identify the force she suspected. Ironically, however, Mio Takano always ends up getting killed at the end. At the end? Dude, she dies like halfway through every time. If she survived and saw Reina take over the school, she would have laughed long and loud. And now you've realized that these two pieces in the roles they fill have their own rule too, right? They talk about the Sonozaki family, and the listeners always believe them. This is Rule Z, and what a humorous rule it is. You should already have an answer to the mystery in your fragments on hand. The fact is that the Sonozaki family always acts as if they're responsible, no matter if they are or not. They always pretend to be the villains to make sure that people continue to fear them. That's true, and it's their own fault that it backfires sometimes. I honestly don't feel too much regret for them. If you're going to claim that you killed someone and get punished for it, I mean, it's only natural that that happens. If you're going to try and take all the glory for doing something, you should probably take all the blame for the same thing you claimed. If you're going to try and rule through fear, by making claims of all the horrible things you do when someone tries to stop you from committing horrible things, and you claim I didn't do it, you can expect people not to believe you. Alright, as a result, the villagers have believed the Sonozaki family's been pulling the strings ever since the dam conflict ended. Kurado Ueshi and Mio Takano were simply fooled by the rule. Actually, the whole village is fooled by it. Alright. Still, the more I think about it, the stranger the series of mysterious deaths in Hinamizawa seems to me. Do you know why? Nearly all the fragments of memories we have here are from 1983, so I have no idea about the incidents from 1980 to 1982. It's likely that interpreting these murders as serial is simply a result of falling victim to Rule Z, believing the Sonozakis are pulling the strings behind everything. In short, they may be trying to conflate those multiple crimes, each happening for a different reason, into one big case. And you guys are thirsty for Takano tonight, aren't you? Well, I have no way of discerning the truth from fragments here. Still, perhaps something lies in one of them. Each case was supposed to have been solved individually, after all. We don't know if that theory is sound or irrational, but it might surprisingly be an element we can't ignore. Yeah, that's fair. Okay, I don't see an argument with that. That reminds me, Shion said something intriguing in the Mayakashi chapter. The curse system she came up with. Do you remember that? Her theory was that the villagers believe they're allowed to kill an enemy of the village on the night of Watanagashi in the name of Oyashiro-sama's curse. This foundation of murder is allowed on that night alone is the true identity of that curse. Since most of the fragments here are from 1983, there's nothing to back the validity of Shion's theory, but there are still interesting things about it. I mean, we have a little bit about the 1982 scenario from Shion's theory, or Shion's perspective, right? We have a little bit about 1982, and that is the one route we did go through. When we followed Shion, we actually went through the 1982 killing, and then the 1983 killing. Was quite unexpected and very good. In other words, her theory is the suspect is not the one who's committing the crime. It's the environment that's causing the murder. People in a single world tend to analyze a criminal's life to determine the process that led them to the crime, but her idea is different. And you know what, this is kind of fair because we've seen so many people kill and so many people not kill. It isn't necessarily their entire life that even has an influence on whether or not they're going to kill someone at this point. It seems to be more the last 3 months. Even weeks. The real crime is committed not by criminals, but by the environment. In other words, it may be only happenstance that robber A committed the crime, and the environment of poverty may have created robber B instead, or perhaps even robber C. Exactly. A may or may not even be a criminal in another world, therefore the real criminal is not A, but the environment that creates A, B, or C. You know, that's a good thought, and I think that is a fairly rational train of thought, right? The environment, you are in some way a product of your environment, as is lower income people are more likely to commit crime, therefore if you eliminate poverty there's going to be less crime, is a perfectly reasonable conclusion. If you attack the root causes of issues, you can eliminate them before, rather than simply preventing the or halting the crime in progress, right? So if we keep with the robbers analogy, stopping someone as they're attempting to rob a store is one thing, but also stopping the reason for them robbing the store is probably more useful. As people are in some ways a product of their environment, you could alter their environment such that they don't need to steal, and thus there is no robbery. An easy way to prevent crime, and far more effective than simply having a harsh punishment that will deter some people. As it's unlikely that even the harshest of punishments will deter literally everybody. See literally several thousand years of history, as in general we have less and less harsh punishments, as in people don't have their arms cut off for theft anymore, but clearly cutting people's arms off for theft didn't stop them from stealing at any point in history, so I'd say it's probably probably not the strongest preventative measure, having a harsh punishment. I guess you could kill everyone who commits a crime if you wanted to. Might be harsh, but in theory, if you wanted to take like a eugenics-based approach, that might work. Only the most lawful people survive. Anyone who's not lawful dies or hides underground. If that's what you think is the utopia, well, it might be a very boring utopia, but I guess you might be able to achieve 0% crime in that way, or at least 0% visible crime. Well, while people in a single world may be able to reach such an idea, the widespread desire to place blame commonly causes A to be lynched by society, while the environment that gave rise to A goes ignored. Too true, too true. Too true, the environment that gave rise to someone who feels like they need to steal is ignored, but the person themselves is punished. Did I confuse you? Not at all. That follows easy. I'm sorry. Perhaps the example was actually harder to understand for you. It's easy for me to see it like that, because I'm from the normal world. Let me make it simple for you. The culprit behind the tragedy in many worlds isn't individuals like Keiichi or Shion, but the environment. The Rule X is the true culprit at fault. You're earning good marks if you can grasp that, even if we don't know the identity of Rule X. If you can grasp the 3 rules while governing this stage called Hinamizawa, rules X, Y, and Z, then you're earning very good marks. As long as you understand those rules, even if this is your first experienced world, you should easily find the truth without distraction. See? Isn't this fun? Merely these 3 simple rules are interacting on this stage, creating a kaleidoscope of different worlds. It's probably a very unusual case. I wonder if they wrote the conclusion like this before they actually wrote the arcs. Like they wrote, this are going to be the 3 rules, and then they wrote stories surrounding the 3 rules. They came up with something like this section, an early draft of it, and we're like, the world's going to operate like this. We're going to play out several scenarios where there are several things in common, and then we're going to have this explanation where we're going to clearly define the rules for people who may not have identified it, and then we'll build from there in our final arc. That seems like an interesting premise for a story, right? It seems less than likely they would have just simply written one arc, an entire story, as an entire closed story that's completely linear, and then done another arc of the same kind, and then in the 7th iteration decided, actually, hey, maybe we'll write something new. Maybe we'll write something to tie these together. It seems like they must have had a plan from the beginning. Or at least I would have hoped they had a plan such as this from the beginning, and were simply trying to work it into the story as they went. Right. Yeah. In some locations, you wouldn't be able to see such extreme variations even after looping through several worlds. This is probably an unusual case where there's only 3 simple rules making such a huge variety. It keeps me entertained, just staying here and watching these worlds revolve. Anyway, there's one more fact we can understand from these fragments of world. This is the biggest problem we, Rika Furudes, are facing. The fact that Rika Furude always dies each time. I mean, you died to a gas attack, right? Or no, you were murdered again. It's as if June 1983 is a dead end for her. Worse, there's no randomness to it. It's guaranteed to happen. In other words, it's the same pattern as the deaths of Jiro Tomitake and Mio Takano. It follows the same rule Y. Tomitake, Jiro, and Takano Mio are always murdered on the night of Watanagashi. Furude Rika's date of death is not always the same, but she's always dead by the middle of June. I think we could solve this. Jiro Tomitake and Mio Takano are probably attacked on their way home, so that's why it happens on the same night. But for Rika Furude, it's different. I mean, we haven't tried to change fate up even once for those two. I kind of feel bad for them. If Rika can actually see the future, I'm kind of disappointed she doesn't say, hey, the roads are dangerous, please don't. Or try to keep them, or try to get them home earlier. You know, maybe she offers them a lot of alcohol because she's able to procure some and they get wasted and can't walk, or maybe and pass out early or something. There's any number of variables. I would hope she kind of tried, a couple at least, to try and save them, to see if the fixed things could be changed. But this might be the first arc where she actually realizes she's in a loop and that she may need to take action in order to escape the loop. I'm not quite sure of the current state, but it seems she's currently addressing the crisis of the fact that she's dying all the time. Which means this might be the arc where she tries to change something, to push something to go just that little bit differently in her favor, as it's not clear if she's tried to do anything other than just relived her life several times and gotten bored with it. She takes different actions in every world, and her lifestyle is very unpredictable. Yeah. For that reason, the day of her death is not always the same. Yep, Rika is unpredictable. However, she always dies in June because a similar powerful conviction vows to kill her too. Have we tried to figure out who's killing us? We can assume the same rule Y, killing them, is also the rule behind her death? It is the same person killing all three of them. I don't know if it's the same person, but it's highly likely the same rule is at work. Is it the same person, or is it the same organization? Is it the same views, the same goals? Rika's most important goal is to escape her deadly fate, but it doesn't mean she wants to leave the village and survive. I mean, she could try and save people of the village. We haven't seen that in an arc yet. She wants to live happily in the village. All her friends must also be happy too. That's Rika's happy future. The ideal future she hopes for. It's tragic we can't realize such a simple desire no matter how many times we repeat this. Though it's a tragedy we're only able to perceive because we're beings capable of comparing the fragments from different worlds. By the way, I have some interesting information. While Rika is almost always killed by Rule Y, have you noticed she's killed by Rule X in some worlds? That's right. It happened in Watanagashi and Mayakashi chapters. Rika Furude committed suicide, but you can say she was more or less killed by Rule X via Shion Sonozaki in those worlds. In other words, she's a blunder for Rule Y. Or this is a blunder for Rule Y. Rule Y is trying to kill her with a strong desire to achieve some aim, but she was killed before that as a result of the unrelated Rule X. This might have caused them to show some disturbance. If Rule Y's objective is simply to bury Rika, then it's not a problem, but if they have some objective beyond that, then that might show up as another phenomenon. Perhaps the Watanagashi and Mayakashi chapters have something in common, something that doesn't happen in other worlds. Unfortunately, we are Rika Furude, so we don't know what happens after Rika is dead. Or, by any chance, do you know what happened? Since I'm Rika, I only know of events during Rika's life. You, on the other hand, are a special existence born in a superior world. Look at me, I'm special, guys. Is there anything that didn't happen in the Watanagashi and Mayakashi chapters? It happened in all the other worlds after Rika's death? Let's think about that. The gas thing still happened. Nobody actually got demoned away, as I recall. Or, did anyone actually get demoned away? I'm not quite sure. Let's see, what didn't happen? Shion's relationship with Keiichi seems to have not been pursued. I think we had the diner scene in every major route, including Mayakashi. I think we had it happen in Sumi Horoboshi. If you know anything, it must be. After Rika's death, another truth behind Rule Y. No, the diner scene's after. The diner scene's before her death. What about after Rika dies? Does the doctor kill himself in every world? I guess there must be another truth behind Rule Y. The memories I have here are all mainly about the chaos brought about by Rika's friends, that is, Rule X, but its foundation, Rule Z, and the obvious hostility common amongst all worlds, Rule Y, are what I believe to be the true rules governing this stage. If so, then Rika's path is a thorny one. She needs to fight Rule Y to survive. Unless she defeats it, she has no future past June 1983. To win her own happiness, she must also beat Rule X to win her friend's safety, and so long as that's undefeated, one of Rika's precious friends may be led to tragedy. If that happens, even should Rika survive, she wouldn't have the happy future she hopes for. She may also have to defeat Rule Z, just as Sonozaki Shion faced it in Mayakashi. So long as Rule Z remains, even if she escapes 1983, it's possible another tragedy may lie waiting in 1984. Those are 3 big goals. Good luck. You got like 3 months in this loop. It's extremely likely Rule Z is the breeding ground for Rule X. Hinamizawa's fundamental belief that the Sonozakis are behind everything, and the custom that anything can be misconstrued as the curse, may indirectly be the root of all evil here. People are not surprised to see someone die on the night of Watanagashi. That type of thinking is keeping the curse alive, where it causes even more tragedy. It's rules Z reinforcing itself. Rules X, Y, and Z. They're the 3 rules that hunt Rika down in the eternal June of 1983. They are all tough obstacles. We didn't even figure out these 3 common rules until recently. Were you aware of them? Roughly, if you were. I'll give you straight A's. I've tried so hard in the past to break these rules, but I was never successful. We didn't see that anywhere. However, a miracle happened in the Sumihoroboshi chapter. That's right, Keichimaibara recognized a small fragment from another world, and by chance he beat Rule X. He beat the insanity. In the end, Rika was still killed that night by Rule Y, but still, one rule was beaten. And if one rule can be beaten, there are yet others that may be defeated. That was a huge leap forward. At last. We take a step forward. Rika knew there were 3 common rules amongst the worlds, but she could never break any of them. Eventually, she gave up and lost interest in the world, and that's how I was born. However, she's different now. She learned something valuable from Keichimaibara, that the rules can be broken with a strong enough will to fight, and if she can break all 3 rules, Rika will be freed from her eternal prison. She doesn't have much time left, though. She's traveled through many worlds. Her physical lifespan is not a problem, but her mental lifespan is getting shorter. Mentally, she's extremely old, and her soul is starting to turn into something different. In the end, she'll probably lose the ability to experience singular worlds. She's already showing these signs, and eventually her memories from the parallel worlds will mix together, ultimately causing her derangement and the loss of Rika Furude's soul. Ooh, that's a bad ending. And then she will disappear. That means you and I are going to be left in this dark world. The fragments of our memories will gradually disappear, and we'll be left alone in the eternal darkness. Eventually, we will die. Rika Furude is aware of that. She knows her mental lifespan is getting shorter and shorter. Hanyuu is also losing her powers. But who? Who's Hanyuu? She can't rewind through years of time like she used to. Her powers decrease so much she can barely rewind 1 month of time. Actually, she can only rewind a few weeks. In the next world, she should only have about 2 weeks of time. Rika Furude is going to try and break all 3 rules in just 2 weeks. All 3 rules must be broken in 2 weeks. Good luck, Rika. I wanted to know what's outside the well, so I tried to claw my way up from there. I wanted to know what's outside the well, so I continued to climb after I fell and injured myself. I finally realized the higher I climb, the more pain I feel when I fall. When my curiosity toward the world and my physical pain become equal, I finally understood the meaning of the frog in the well. More Frederica Berncastel. Welcome to Chapter 7, Minagoroshi. That was quite the prelude. Let's see if our escape from this time loop can happen. You think it'll happen first try? I'm thinking because there's an 8th chapter, it's probably not, but we can try. I felt no gravity in the darkness and lost all my senses as a result. I banged my head on the floor with a dull thud. Seeing stars beneath my eyelids, I curled into a ball while holding my head in pain. Are you okay? Did you get hurt? Rika, please say something. I had no idea why I was in this situation, but as soon as I heard their voices from the top of the cliff, I realized I must have fallen. Alright, we're playing as Rika this time, guys. I wasn't expecting it, but I'm not going to complain. I mean, we obviously started with a Rika perspective. We'll see how long it lasts. After all, the Reina chapter kind of started with... We've done a lot of Reina in the Reina chapter. We went back and forth between Reina and Keichi. So we'll see who we end up as in this one. Now I remember. I'm thinking going this whole arc through Rika's perspective, and then a little bit of third-person omniscient would probably make the most sense. I was playing behind the shrine with the rest of the club members. I got too excited and started doing something very dangerous. Then the tree branch broke. That's how I fell off the cliff. My body started to ache all over, and I remembered how I fell, but I still felt strange for some reason. I couldn't remember what I was doing. No, it's more... I couldn't remember who Rika was before I fell off the cliff. I heard Hanyuu's panicked voice. I looked behind me and saw Hanyuu standing there with a scared look on her face. Who the fuck are you? It says she's Hanyuu. I've never seen you in my life. Hanyuu? Ow? What just happened? You were playing with it when it fell off a cliff. Are you okay? I don't care about that, Hanyuu. What day is it today? What year? What month? I always ask this question first when something like this happens. Hanyuu's actually in a, Shrine Maiden outfit. But who is Hanyuu? We've literally never seen her in any of the other timelines. She finally realized I was asking the same old question. I always ask this first. It's June 1983. Watanagachi's next week, so, oh dear. I only have that much time left. It's the best we can do, Hanyuu muttered regretfully. It was the middle of June 1983. If this really was the best she could do, I had no choice. I couldn't complain. I gradually started remembering more things. This is June. I see. I was killed again. After Reina surrendered to the police, all the classmates were given checkups at the clinic. I didn't get hurt, so I was sent home after they determined I had no injuries. My memory started getting vague from that point on, a common characteristic of my violent deaths. When my life is taken away violently, the memory before death becomes vague with static. It's like a violently ripped roll of toilet paper. That example should make it easy to understand, even if it's a little uncouth. That's why I have no clear memory of what happened and how I died that night. I only have vague memories. I think someone covered my mouth with a handkerchief or something, and I passed out. That's about the only thing I remember, and, well, only vaguely. I'm not even sure it really happened. The only thing I know for sure is I was attacked on my way home, or possibly after I got there, and that I was murdered suddenly. I don't know who killed me or how I was killed. I'm glad at least I don't remember the horrific ending to my life every time it happens. Because of my experiences, I think I now understand why ghosts wander the world, not knowing why that they died so suddenly. If it's a death from a long-lasting illness, people tend to remember they were sick. They can kind of assume they died after being sick for a long time, but when your memory is violently disrupted like mine, it can get quite confusing. When I first experienced this, I wasn't sure if I was dreaming or not. I even thought I hit my head hard and lost my memory. I need to organize things before I get too confused. My name's Rika Furude. Okay. People look at me in a special way, but that's not a big deal for me. All I want is a happy life where I can play around with my best friends. I can't remember how long I've been living just for the sake of obtaining that simple happiness. This panicked girl here is named Hanyuu. I'm the only one who can see her. Oh, that makes sense, why we've never seen her. Perhaps she only exists inside of my head? At any rate, Hanyuu's invisible and can generally only interact with me. It'll be a long story if I try to explain Hanyuu's existence, so I won't be doing that right now. Alright, for now we'll call her Ghost Girl, because she's 50% transparent right now. Besides, I don't even know how I should talk about her. She's been there since I was born, and her existence is a natural thing for me. I saw everyone running up the gravel road towards me. They're my important and lovable best friends. Our group's active, boisterous, and we get serious about doing stupid things. I never bored them around them, and I love them very much. Are you okay? Did you sprain your ankle? Where did you get hurt? Let this old man have a look at it. Thank you so much. I just got a bump on my head. I think all I got was a bump at least. My injury wasn't as serious as everyone thought. You're right, you still need to be cautious, even if you're fine for the moment. It's true. Hello, Keiichi. You should get Coach to check you out, just in case. It's a good idea. Okay. You want me to go get him? Yeah, we'll go ask someone to use the phone and call him here. You don't need to do that. I'm totally fine. Pa? Absolutely not, Rika. You must be cautious. Satoko warned me with a stern voice. It wasn't really a big deal, but I decided to nod since Satoko was trying to be generous. She wasn't trying to boss me around or anything. She was only saying that because of how much she cares. I've seen it before in the many different lives I've been through. I have no doubt she's really concerned about me. It's not just Satoko. Mion, Reina, and Keiichi are all the same. They're all so nice to me, and they really do care. Mion left to look for a phone. Reina left with a towel looking for the water tap. Satoko remained nearby, taking care of me with a worried face. And Hanyuu is just standing there, still wearing a panicked look. Keiichi seemed to be panicked too, but he was trying not to show it. He was standing by me wearing a calm expression. You alright? I'm fine. It doesn't hurt anywhere. Glad you're not seriously injured. I was super worried. I wouldn't feel anything special about his words if this was a while ago. But, at that moment when Reina took over the classroom, when she hurt Mion, Keiichi tried his best to save Reina. Even so, he was more reliable than I ever imagined from his normal behavior. He is usually an insensitive guy who hurts other people's feelings without noticing, but that's not his true self. He has a secret side, one willing to sacrifice himself for other people. I was just observing that not too long ago, and that's why I can honestly feel his generosity now. Now that I think about it, Keiichi regained a memory from another world the previous time around. Is it possible he carries that memory in this world too? If that's the case, I have some hope. Hanyuu and I are totally powerless. Hanyuu's only like heir to everyone but me, and I am just a little girl. There's only so much we can do ourselves. But Keiichi is different. He changed the fate I once resigned myself to. He's someone who may have the power to take me to my unseen future. If I can get Keiichi to understand me, he could be my hero. Perhaps I'm actually not expecting that much out of him. I just want someone to understand my struggle of being stuck in this maze. Keiichi? I spoke to him slowly. It had been a while since I felt so nervous. I hadn't felt this way since I started my endless life in 1983. As a witch, I normally would know what his responses would be before even talking to him. I often remain silent because I already know how pitiful the reply would be, but in this case... Why was I so nervous now? Did you call me Rika? Hanyuu gave me a disappointed look before I responded to Keiichi. Rika. I could tell what Hanyuu was thinking too. The miracle wasn't going to happen. If miracles do happen, one could have happened many times in my other lives, but I've only seen one miracle before. The miracle that Keiichi gave me was a once-in-a-lifetime kind of miracle. Only if it happened again would it be a true miracle. I won't get out of this world just because I rolled 6 on the die once. I can't get out unless I get a miracle equivalent to getting 6 on the die 10 times in a row. Interesting, they use the, they're using, like, oh, I guess, oh, that, you could use die. I'm not sure if this is a singular or a plural die, but I know for a fact that typically in Britain they always use die, they never use dice. So you roll 6 die, not 6 dice. Oh, they use dice there. Never mind. I was going to comment on that, but that one could have been singular. Anyway, and so I rolled 10 dice, wishing they'd all turn out to be 6s. Keiichi? What is it? Are you hurt anywhere? He looked at me worriedly after I called his name twice. Keiichi, do you remember? I knew how sudden my question was. As I thought he would, he looked at me with a confused face. Huh? What are you talking about? I looked inside his eyes to see his true feelings. He should remember, he should know. Even though he doesn't have the memory, Keiichi experienced it. What is she referring to, Keiichi-san? Did you do something bad to her? You'd better speak up. Keiichi, do you remember? Climbing on the school roof? The school roof? Keiichi, you climbed up there? I'm not asking you, Satoko. Do you remember, Keiichi? I did? I climbed on the roof? When? You must be mistaken somehow, Rika-chan. I never climbed on the roof, and I don't even know how to get up there. Of course, you haven't experienced it in this world yet. Please tell me you remember. I know you've never been up on the roof, but you should still remember doing it. You shouldn't be able to remember it, true, but you actually did once. You should be able to remember it once again, right? Perhaps you went up there to get a ball or something? Never. Have you been up there, Satoko? Unthinkable. I'd get in such terrible trouble if I did something like that. I bet it'd feel really good to take a nap up there, then. Oh, gee. Hanyuu's face here. Oh my god, she's just like a disaster. There's no way he would remember. If miracles can happen that easily, neither of us would be suffering like this. Shut up. I knew that. I knew he wouldn't remember. Our fate's already set in stone. We're like a pitiful cicada that dies after the summer festival. Shut up. As I stared at her fiercely, Hanyuu realized she'd crossed a line. This might be a waste of time. The maze we're in might not have an exit. It might be an endless loop without a goal in place. We're trapped in this fate. I thought that Keiichi might be able to get me out of here. But that Keiichi I saw was truly a miracle, a momentary glimmer. Well, it just means if you can't get out yourself, if you can't expect someone else to help you out, I guess we'll say the maze has no exit. You can always make an exit. The Keiichi of this world doesn't bear the same miracle. All the same, I'm not gonna give up. Last time, too, I gave up on fighting Destiny. I realized Reina was beyond salvation, so I bid her farewell and forsook that world. But Keiichi fought and broke the cycle of fate. I should have worked harder with that Keiichi in that world. I could have broken this endless cycle together with him. Am I going to repeat this life, waiting for that miracle to happen once more? I can't do that. I don't want to repeat the same life anymore. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of this world, my fate, and everything. I'm tired of getting murdered by Destiny. Keiichi showed me a miracle. I should be able to do the same too. I just gotta fight. I have to fight with all my remaining power. I mean, I was always fighting. I was fighting when I had more power. But I never made it, and how do I win this time? Well, still I gotta fight. Keiichi taught me that fate can be shattered. I'm gonna fight one more time. Not twice more? Alright, I think that ends our prologue. We've gotten an introduction to this arc, and the goal of Rika's actions. To my granddaughter. Well, we got a new tip. Just the one, though. I'm sorry for leaving you like this. I just need you to understand. I'd rather take my own life than be fearful of how many days I have left to live. That's why I write this letter to you. I can't stand the fear of being unable to leave behind a will while my life is prolonged, and even as I lose my consciousness. In the end, there's nothing I can leave behind for you. I was unable to leave behind any of my achievements to this world. I was forgotten before I was dead. I leave this world a humiliated man, knowing I had no appreciation from anyone. You must do better than me. You must achieve something that your grandfather was never able to achieve. I don't mind what field you choose. You must leave your mark on this world. You must leave behind your achievements. You will eventually die one day. You will eventually turn to ashes, and as a human being, that's your inevitable fate. But if you achieve a great success, you will live forever, even after you depart. Those who live beyond their deaths are called gods. I wish to become one, but I was unable to do so. So in my place, you must become a god someday. There's your mission in life. A nice mission statement. Become a god. One who will live on after they've perished. There. You're all done. Irie withdrew the needle from Satoko's arm. It must not have hurt much for the needle to be pulled out. Satoko kept her eyes closed in fear, thinking the needle was still inside her arm. Satoko, you're all done, you know. What? What? Oh, it's finally over? As Satoko opened her eyes, she found that Irie was no longer sitting in front of her and Takano was wiping her arm with rubbing alcohol instead. That's right, you're all done now. Dr. Irie's good with needles, unlike me. You didn't even notice he was finished. Don't touch that part of your arm for a while, okay? Also, try not to carry anything too heavy. Of course, I know that by now. Good, Satoko. I'll pat your head for you. Nothing. There's nothing I did that would require you to pat my head. Not long ago, she would go into a panic when it was time for her to get her shot. The way she behaved today is in itself worthy of praise. Everyone in the room smiled, aware of that growth. Please give her the usual test, will you, Takano? Sure. Alright, Satoko, it's time for the quiz we always do. Your quiz is always quite difficult for me. Take it easy. If it's too difficult, you can just tell me you don't know the answer. You don't have to think too hard, just tell me whatever comes to mind at the moment. Wait, what are we doing? Takano smiled at Satoko to ease her tension. And she led Satoko to a desk in the back of the examination room. I hope Satoko gets better soon. I don't know if it's because of the heat, but Satoko has been showing negative symptoms since last month. The change of seasons can affect her physically and emotionally. It's not a surprise this is happening to her. I'm gonna see Iri and ask him how Satoko's doing. What are you gonna do, Hanyuu? I'm gonna stay with Satoko. Thanks. I'll leave it to you. Hanyuu went over to where Satoko was, and fortunately, I'm the only one who can see Hanyuu. She won't be a distraction if she goes and observes Satoko's test. I, of course, would be a distraction like that. This is supposed to be a routine exam, but it seems like Takano is teasing her by giving her difficult questions. It'd be pretty funny to observe how Satoko reacts to them. I'm a little jealous Hanyuu gets to watch everything without being a bother to Satoko. Iri was talking with 2 other staff members about Satoko's exam results. I walked up and joined them. Thank goodness. She seems to be improving. From what Iri was saying, her results must have turned out well. Iri, how is she? Oh, don't worry. The results were good. I'll discuss this more with you two later. After ordering his staff to continue their work, Iri showed me some difficult paperwork and started explaining it to me. Guess we overreacted to the test results from last week. I wasn't aware that she was ill. Her condition shifted dramatically because of the change in climate. Did she have a cold by chance? There was one night recently that was fairly hot. Satoko was sleeping without her blanket and her stomach was exposed. She might have caught a cold that night. She was sleeping with her stomach exposed? I poked her belly button, but she didn't wake up at all. That sounds like fun. Please call me if that happens again. I'd love to poke Satoko's belly button too. It's so soft. Her belly's chunky too. It was so cute. I didn't want to cover it with a blanket. And that's why she caught a cold, huh? Rika, I can hear you. You'd better put a blanket on me next time. You're in the middle of a quiz, Satoko-chan. Need to concentrate. Iri, Hanyuu, and I all laughed. Satoko went back to her test with a bitter look on her face. And Iri began speaking to me in a softer voice. She's in remission, but her level's still L3 negative. She was and will continue to be in critical condition. She's never going to get better? Just like with anaphylaxis, her body will be conditioned to react severely even after the foreign chemical is out of her system. In other words, she'll never move below the level 3 stage? Yes, that's right. But it's not the end of the world. She can control it by maintaining a proper lifestyle, as well as taking some medication. She'll never be cured in her whole lifetime? I looked at Satoko as she enjoyed taking her test. She seemed to be having fun, even while being teased by Takano. I can't believe she's suffering from an incurable disease. Oh, rip. If you think of it in a negative way, you're right. Many people in the world are coping with an incurable illness. Diabetes is a good example. The condition itself can never be cured, but the symptoms can be controlled. I know that very well. There's many worse diseases in the world. Satoko might be in a relatively good situation compared to many other sick people. Of course, I'm not giving up on her. I'll make sure I cure her some disease someday. I promise. I trust you. Yes, trust me. Iri spoke to me with a serious look on his face. As Satoko's best friend, I felt relieved to hear his words. R.I.P. in peace, Satoko. I'm sure he'll do his best to save Satoko's life. I have no doubt he'll do so. I've seen him act like this in every life I've lived. I also know why he's so passionate to save her, but I'm not supposed to know about it in this life. That's why I always pretend not to see his sad smile. By the way, Rika, we'll be conducting another big test at the end of the month. Am I going to be the guinea pig this time? It's not like that. You're only helping our studies, which will save many people's lives. Iri's guinea pig is not just Satoko. I'm also one of them. Although guinea pig's probably not the right term, without Iri's efforts, Satoko would not be here today. For that reason, I should be showing respect to this man. I smiled at him since my choice of words had hurt his feelings. Me? If testing me can save Satoko's life, I don't mind being guinea pig. Thanks for your support. I wouldn't be causing you so much trouble if I had more money and more equipment. The next moment the phone rang. Iri answered it in his usual business-like tone. This guy's got a massive clinic, but apparently it's not. Hello, this is Iri. You have a call on the line from Tokyo. I'll transfer it to the other phone. I could hear the voice from the phone. It must be Riza then. Is it that time of year already? I'm going to pick it up at the office. Will you transfer it here? Absolutely. Please hang up this line. Just me. In that case. Alright. Sorry, Rika. I got a call from Tokyo. Oh, don't mind me. As soon as Iri hung up the phone in the other room started ringing. He left the examination room and headed towards the office. Hanyuu returned to my side as soon as Eri left. Hanyuu doesn't like to be around me when I'm talking with Eri. I don't think she dislikes him. It's just she doesn't really want to hear what he has to say. Eri doesn't mean harm, but Hanyuu's often hurt by the things that come out of his mouth. How's Satoko doing? How's Satoko doing? She's not good at spot the difference, like usual. I was able to find more differences than her. I don't care how well you did. What about Satoko? I thought she was there to check on Satoko, but she was taking the quiz alongside her instead? That's so typical of Hanyuu. You're supposed to be checking on Satoko. What are you doing? She's instead just like, I'm just gonna take the quiz too. Let's go. She was treating it almost like a game, but Satoko was tired after taking the same quiz every week. She seemed sleepy, especially after waking up so early in this morning. Okay, I'm just thinking, what could Satoko have? They're playing Spot the Difference. So, is it like some brain disease then? Like, I'm wondering what it is. It could interfere with perception, so it could be something going on with your brain. Or something that could affect your eyesight. But generally, that'd be like your ability to process things that you're seeing, right? Or like spot the difference. The quiz in this case wasn't about a right or wrong answer, it was about timing, in minutes how long it took her to answer the question, and observing how she acted during the quiz. Not all the questions would be simple ones, so Satoko often got headaches, more so than even the spelling tests we'd take at school. Is it almost over? Yes, it is. The book Takano has right now is the last one. Takano was showing a book to Satoko with abstract pictures inside. I couldn't even tell if it was supposed to be a picture. It was just a symmetrical ink stain. Wow, we're going back to Rorschach tests. No wonder Satoko has mental problems. This is the last one. What do you think this is? Both Hanyuu and I looked at the picture over Satoko's shoulders. Even I didn't know what to answer when looking at that strange ink stain. Satoko continued to think. Takano observed her taking notes while Satoko struggled. She was also timing how long it took her to answer, holding a stopwatch under the table. I spoke to Hanyuu, so only she could hear me. Do you think it looks like Hanyuu? Oh. It's softer. I've grew. It fell on the ground and ended up like this. It's been wasted. I see. This is a good test for understanding a person's mind. To me, it looked like a horse mackerel that had been cut open and its guts pulled out. I was thinking of food, too. It was rather shocking to learn that my thought processes are the same as Hanyuu's. How do you know she's not, like, an illusion? What's it look like to you? You don't have to think too hard. Satoko must not be very good at this test. She always takes a long time to answer questions like this. She finally opened her mouth to speak. It's like two butterflies are on top of each other. Two butterflies on top of each other. Tell me more. Why are they on top of each other? Takano continued to take notes as Satoko spoke. Curious about what she was writing, I looked, but... Is that German? I can't read it at all. Takano is so mean. They were apart for like some time, but having finally reunited, they're excited to see each other again. I apologize. I don't even know what I'm trying to say. No, you're doing just fine. You can tell me whatever's on your mind. That's the whole point of this test. You certain even such strange answer is even serving a purpose? Of course. For example, take this picture. You gave me a totally different answer last year. I can tell how you've changed just by comparing how you respond. I really don't like this test. What did I even say last year? Takano smiled and took a note without answering her question. I tried to remember what her answer was, but I have more than 100 years worth of memories in my head. Hanyuu might remember better than I do. As I looked at Hanyuu, I realized she's standing there with a sad expression. I decided not to ask her. I could tell what kind of answers Satoko gave back then, just by looking at Hanyuu's face. Last year was... No, this is before Watanagashi. That was before Watanagashi. She's probably in really rough shape. I don't know what she's giving as an answer, but it probably sucks. June 1982 is when Satoko was being abused by her cruel aunt. Yeah, I was thinking she'd give something about Satoshi, but It's probably like her cruel aunt or some shit. Because, yeah, Satoshi disappeared like, basically like 2 weeks from now-ish. Last year. Recalling that, I didn't even want to know what Satoko answered. But just a year later, the Satoko who was so worn down could no longer be seen. She became so strong. I know how difficult it was for her to stay strong and tough like this. Her growth over the past year is overwhelming to me. Are you done with the test? He returned from his office. Yep, we're finished. Toko's handling it a lot better now. You were done pretty quick today. Oh, I did my best to ensure it was done quickly. I have plans after this, so I can't stay here too long. You have something after this? It is Sunday, right? We're doing a club activity at Mia's uncle's toy store today. Well, no wonder you were so obedient with the test today. It was because you have plans. Sorry we held you so long. Well, here's your stuff, Satoko. Eri put a big paper bag on the table. He opened it and gave her instructions about the medications. Satoko had heard the same instructions over and over before, but Eri still continued to talk just the same. Since you're doing better, you can go back to 2 shots per day. Please give yourself a shot before lunch before you go to bed. And before you go to bed, sorry. Make sure you change the needle every time. Don't ever use the same one twice. I'm prescribing this one in case you really need it when you're feeling sick. Yeah, same as usual, I know. Satoko couldn't wait to meet our friends for the club activity. It made me feel happy to see her as excited as this. She only takes 2 shots per day now. I'm glad. The number of shots she has to take each day represents how well she's doing, so it's a good thing she has to take fewer shots. It's tough for her to give herself a shot 2 times a day. Ugh. Hanyuu grew quiet after hearing my comment. Eri handed her the paper bag after he finished his instructions. Yeah, at last, it's over. Okay, we can finally leave. Good job. You seemed anxious during the test today. Have fun with your friends. I'm sorry I was so tense. Yeah, my thanks for all you've done for me. Is she gonna make it on time? I can give you a ride there. Oh, I also bought a new stuffed animal. It's in my car. You can give it a name if you'd like. Oh my, what sort of creature could it be? I wonder what I should name it. Well, what is it exactly? It's a cat again. One with tiger stripes this time. I think you'll like it a lot. Satoko and Takano are good friends. They're both fond of stuffed animals. I see. Every time Takano gets a new one, she brags about it to Satoko. That's all they have in common, but having a friend like Takano is a special thing for Satoko. She's part of the Hojo family who tried to betray the village. People at the clinic are the only adults who will even talk to her. You should suggest wearing maid uniforms for the punishment game. I have every kind and every size. Either way, I'll see you next week. No, thank you. See you next week. Well, let's be going. Our battle today is not only against the club members. I'm itching to put my skills to the test. I bowed slightly and made to leave the examination room, but I soon realized something. Eri was looking at me with a sad expression on his face, and just with that look, I could tell what he wanted to say. Please take care of Satoko if something happens to her. I nodded at him and stepped out into the hallway with Satoko. Well, that suddenly got depressing fast. Okay. My goodness. I'm used to these testing quizzes, but they always leave me exhausted. Don't like taking the test? Well, I don't, but they're my job. There's nothing I can do about that. Satoko is supporting Eri's research. She gets financial support by helping him out, or at least that's what Satoko thinks she's doing. Satoko was bursting with enthusiasm, so we headed to Okonomiya at full speed. We wound up waiting for Keiichi and the other club members for a long time. We got here early, but they were, of course, late. I think they were late the last time we did this, too. Did it mean this was something that was meant to happen? It's unpleasant I can't even change the most minor of fates. I finally saw them coming towards us just on their bikes. Hello, everyone. How utterly slow all of you are. Satoko acted like she was upset, but I could tell she was pleased to see them just the same. Ah, Satoko's cute. That's why I'll never tire of her. She's so adorable. Satoko's behavior soothes my feelings of frustration. This is why I love Satoko. If she was a small, fluffy animal, I'd definitely keep her in a cage. Good morning, Satoko and Rika. Morning. Hey, good morning, Rika-chan. Satoko, think fast. We gotta do this quick before the cops get here. Our goal is 1 billion yen. Keiichi, what in the world are you talking about? Are we late? When did you guys get here? It didn't take long. We've been waiting for you. Wow. Mion and Reina knew that Satoko gets a checkup every Sunday at the clinic. Sorry about that. Kei-chan didn't show up on time, so that's why we're late. That Keiichi. So he's the reason they're always late. Not really surprising. Wait a minute. Am I the bad guy here? Of course. Of all the club members, you're the only one who can play the villain. Oh. You mean Satoko isn't the villain? What's that supposed to mean? You better watch your mouth. Keiichi and Satoko messed around with each other. How is Satoko never able to be the villain? Satoko acted like she was crying, and Reina punched Keiichi, knocking him out cold. It was the same old situation they always got into. I can watch this thing forever. It's like having a glass of cold milk after a hot bath. I can never win against her. You should get up and move before she cracks her front teeth. We all laughed at him and finished greeting each other. There's lively as always. Nothing's more precious than one's health. You're sounding like an old lady, Rika. Shut up, who cares what you think? I'm not gonna eat any sweets if you keep on saying things like that. Damn. Poor Hanyuu. Hanyuu seems to be getting more depressed than usual. I should stop teasing her so much. It was a joke. Will you get off me? I'm sorry. Hanyuu loves sweet treats. She especially loves cake and ice cream. Since she can't eat anything, she has to depend on me when it comes to that. In other words, whatever I eat, Hanyuu can taste too. Even if Hanyuu craves something, it doesn't mean anything if I don't eat it. In other words, I have total control of what she eats. That's why it's fun to tease her with saying what I'll eat and what I won't. It's almost as fun as teasing Satoko. Poor Hanyuu. You seem to be in a good mood today, Rika. I want to take you home. You'll be arrested if you do that, you know. We've seen this scene before, haven't we? Hey Mion, the store owner's calling for you. Is this their board game tournament? Rika, did you hear? There's gonna be a prize for the club activity today. I remember. Mion was gonna be paying 50,000 yen out of her pocket as a prize. I couldn't believe she could just afford that. Therefore, I have to assume she has some kind of guarantee she won't lose. And do you know what it is? It's 50,000 yen. 50,000 yen! Satoko stared at me. Oh no. She was expecting me to be surprised to hear that the prize was 50,000 yen. It's natural to be surprised ever hearing that sum, but I didn't react because I already knew it. Perhaps I gave the impression I've known it for a long time. Hey, Jisan, isn't it amazing the prize is 50,000 yen? 50,000? The heck is that? That's like 5 years worth of the Keiichi GNP. Okay, Satoko said the same thing to Keiichi. She probably assumed I wasn't listening, so she decided to talk to Keiichi instead. That was just a small mistake. I'm fine. If I get 50,000 yen, I can get a lifetime supply of soy sauce. Wait, what would you buy soy sauce with a prize like that? 50,000 yen. How much is a bottle of soy sauce? Like $5? 500 bottles of soy sauce? Yeah, that seems about right. How many bottles of soy sauce do you honestly go through a year? If you're going through more than 5 bottles of soy sauce a year, you probably have a soy sauce addiction. That's a lot of fucking soy sauce, damn. I think I've gone through I go through less than one a year. I'm sure I go through less than one a year, but I think going through 2 or 3 per person per year seems reasonable. If you have soy sauce with rice every day, it probably increases the rate of consumption. Well, a certain someone always gives me a dirty look when I ask her to go get soy sauce from the store. You're so mean, Rika. How much soy sauce do you think you can even get for 50,000 yen? Man, I want to see. Keiichi joined the conversation, which finally brought us back to our normal pace. In order to pursue a greater happiness, I need to sacrifice a smaller one. In a perfect world, Rika was supposed to be surprised to hear from her best friend that the prize was 50,000 yen, but I already knew it. I knew it from my previous lives. All I could do was give her a boring reaction. I can't be surprised at the big prize of 50,000 yen. I can't give her the reaction she expects from me. I'm losing the ability to be surprised by life, and after the continual repetition of small incidents like this, there'll be nothing left I can find interesting. I'll have nothing to be surprised about. I'll never be impressed with anything. And eventually I'll lose my emotions entirely. That's why I'm always trying to be careful. I make sure I act like the Rika who doesn't know anything. Even though I may not be impressed as a young girl, Rika Furude should be impressed with many things. Rika Furude is supposed to act excited when she encounters something for the first time. I try to, well, at least. The more and more I try, though, the more I feel like Rika Furude is someone very distant. Rika. Sorry. I know it won't be wasting my lifespan, but feeling depressed like this. I should enjoy this life. I didn't mean my lifespan, literally. I'm not referring to my physical lifespan, but my mental one. The more and more I repeat the same days, the more I lose from wonder to passion, and eventually my life becomes an overplayed videotape. If I'm tired of that tape, I have a choice to close my eyes and sleep. By the time I wake up, the video should be over, but in reality my life is not a beat-up old videotape. If I close my eyes and sleep, that would be my death. When my mental lifespan is over, Rika Furude will turn into a doll who can't even move a finger by her own will, and when that happens, my pursuit of happiness will be over. I don't want that to happen. It's been at least 100 years, if not more. I've been stuck in this living hell for so long, I don't even want my life to end here. Oh, I don't want it to end here, that's fair. Sorry, I'm fine now. I know. Gotta find it funny, I'm complaining about only a century. I've grown used to this fate by now. Oh. Alright, I'm fine. I'm Rika Furude. If I don't stay focused on being Rika, I'm afraid I might end up showing my true self inside of that shell. Rika Furude is supposed to be a cute, innocent little girl after all. Me? What would you buy if you got 50,000 yen right now? I wonder if I can buy the Kenta-kun doll. You think they'll sell it to me if I pay 50,000 yen to one of the Okonomiya chain stores? I think it'd be easier for you to buy the tools and wheelbarrow to steal the doll. I bet Reina could break the chain with her bare hands if she wanted to. I agree on that one. You're all so mean. Thus, we rejoin the typical flow of conversation naturally. Once I enter that flow, it's not hard for me to continue as Rika Furude. Being Rika is like flying a kite for me. Once it's in the air, I can stay in the air for a while, but if something happens and it loses control, it's a heck of a challenge to get it back on track. Every time it tries to get back up in the air, the kite gets dragged on the ground and wears out. I'm exactly like that. Finally, Mion started clapping her hands to get everyone's attention. I already knew the rules. The members will be broken into 5 groups. Each group plays a game they choose together. I was secretly hoping Mion would change the rules for some reason. There's nothing more boring than to already know what's gonna happen. Mion can be very capricious. She might really change the rules. Yeah, but it seems she's been playing this game for several days already. A strong will can be fated too, huh? Normally when we do club activities, Mion decides what to play at the last minute. She opens her locker and randomly decides what game to play. For that reason, our club activities are rarely repeated throughout my lives. That's why I'm never bored with them. But as Hanyuu said, today's event was something Mion had been planning for a while. I was certain she wouldn't suggest something spontaneously today, and in that case, this won't be random chance. Mion only had one idea in her mind. Therefore, it's equivalent to destiny. Although her idea of having this event in the toy store is actually a spontaneous one, in all the lives I repeated, there's a very low chance for this event to occur. You shouldn't expect anything to be different. I'm not expecting it. Of course, I was lying just now. I was hoping Mion would suggest a new rule for the game. If it was the same rules again, I'd be suffering for a few minutes while I listened to her instructions. Nothing's more frustrating than walking the same path over and over and over again. Please, 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 Mion. Please change my fate. Please. We're going to be divided into 5 different groups. The winner from each table. It's the same rules after all. Sorry, I was holding on to small hopes. Small hopes will hurt you, Rika. You're right. You're right. You told me so many times. I never learned. Hanyuu's taught me so many times. She taught me the trick to swimming in the flow of destiny. The flow of destiny is like a river's. By going with the flow, I can swim in the direction I want to some extent, but trying to swim against the flow requires great effort. Allowing myself to drift causes the least amount of strain. Of course, some strong currents are impossible to resist, even with great effort. If I recklessly try to resist without realizing it's impossible, I'll only wear myself out needlessly as if fighting a river's current. So Hanyuu taught me to read the currents, which is why I should have easily imagined that the rules would be the same the moment I learned Mion planned today's event in advance. Yet I still wish the rules would be different to completely wasteful action. In the end, my hopes were betrayed, only leaving my heart worn out. So what are you, Miss Spiritual Guide? Are you one who has lived their own life like this many times and perished? Are you an ancestor? What are you? Things like that cause me to separate further from Rika Furude. Eventually I grow tired of everything, lose all interest, and die. A fate which can't be fought, must be accepted. I know you can read the flow of destiny, Rika. You're right, my lifespan's already growing short. I should treasure what I have left. I sighed and pretended as though I was listening to what Mion was explaining. What's wrong, Rika? Are you bored? Keiichi surprised me all of a sudden. Talking to me? This never happened before, so I thought he was talking to someone else. But it seemed like Keiichi really was talking to me. Yeah. You looked bored ever since this morning. Are you sleepy from waking up too early? I was just thinking, I've already done this before. No one would understand, but I mean anyway. But Keiichi might. And so I told him how I honestly felt. Huh? Are you serious? No wonder Mion seems so used to this. I'm looking forward to it because it's my first time, though. I envied him for feeling that way. I sighed, knowing I never will. I understand how frustrating it is to hear the same instructions over and over again. I went to cram school once and studied ahead a lot there. I remember how much I hated hearing the same lectures in school. Keiichi didn't understand me. But I'm glad he at least understands how frustrating it is to repeat the same situation. I'm the same. I'm frustrated at school too. What? Are you really? You always seem so happy. Rika Furude is supposed to be happy at school. That's why I act that way. Doing the same things over and over again is like torture. It's easy for me to change what Satoko cooks for dinner. I can simply volunteer to cook instead of her. But I can't change what the teacher teaches at school every day. I have no choice but to be quiet and listen to her lecture. Yeah, there's nothing you can really do. You can't just tell the teacher to move on because you already know what she's teaching you, but this is a different story. It's a game. It's a game, but it's already predetermined. You don't know that. After all, we're being split into 5 tables by drawing lots, right? Plus, each group has to choose what game their table plays. There's no way to predict what games we'll do. We'll do battle over what exciting turnabouts await us today. I can make a good guess. No, you can't. Keiichi smiled as he contradicted me. The smile seemed so ignorant to me. Groups will be decided by drawing lots. Each club member will be in a different group. Keiichi, you'll be sitting over there. My table will be right there. I'll be playing a fishing game. You'll be playing a game called Billionaire. I don't know how, but last time we were broken into 5 separate groups, it couldn't have been a coincidence. I'm sure Mion did something to ensure it would end up like that. But I'm 100% sure. As for the games we play, I'm not totally sure, but if each member of the group follows the same thinking patterns, they'll probably end up making the same choices. If you roll dice many times, you begin to approach the average. One person's spontaneous act can be random, but multiple people's thoughts are averaged out for the most part. The more people are involved, the more difficult it is to alter the path of fate. And that's why I'm pretty sure we'll end up playing the same games. Keiichi seems surprised to hear my prediction. The hell? Is that like a premonition? Hey, how's it going, my dude? How can you be so sure? You excited for the Hot Wheels DLC coming out tomorrow? It's gonna be fun. That's what fate's all about. Fate, huh? Well, makes me want to smash that fate into pieces. He smiled at me again. I knew he was just smiling without reason, but I felt a small hope from him. After all, Keiichi really did shatter fate before, but that was just a miracle that happened in my previous life. I couldn't expect him to do the same thing in this one. Otherwise, I'd be worn down by my high expectations again. Alright, we're gonna decide our groups by drawing lots from this box. The club members will go first. Mion drew first, then Satoko. The results were the same as last time. I really don't want to fight against a club member at the very start. I'm sorry if we get the same group, Rika-chan. Don't worry. Your table's over there. Mine's right here. Whatever you say. You watch! Ugh. Keiichi looked upset. See? See? My predictions are always right. It was a 20% chance. Anyone can make a random guess. Keiichi told me it was just coincidence. What if I predict my seat right, too? What's the percentage of that? 20 of 20, so 4%. I'll believe you if you get it right with the percent that low. Keiichi grinned at me, believing such a chance was impossible. Alright, guys. Alright. 20%. So we divide by 5, we get 4%. Seems good. 4% odds. What do you think? It's your turn, Rika-chan. Mion handed me the box of slips. No matter what I did, I'd be getting that table. There was a reason behind it. Mion was doing something to make sure we all got a different table. I thought about why Mion would do that. With the information I've gathered about Mion over many years, I could see her reasoning. Probably thinks she'll feel bad if a member loses in the first stage. You're right. You're right. The club members are in the same group, someone will have to lose. If everyone was in a different group, we'd all have a chance to move on to the second stage, and that's why she was controlling this throne. I put my hand inside of the box. I could feel several folded pieces of paper inside it. If you thought for a moment, though, it was odd. No matter which I choose, I'd never get any other table. I wonder how she's making you sit at that last table. Me too. Only Mion knows. All I know is no matter which paper I choose, I'll be sitting at that last table. Ah, got it. All the papers in this box are the same? It must be. I bet Mion set some kind of trap in this box. It's probably a box for a magic show or something. There could be some kind of gimmick inside the box. She can switch what's inside of it. Depending on who's drawing the paper, she'd change out the lots and control the result. I didn't know exactly how, but I'm sure she's doing something. I didn't even need to know how she was doing it. The most important thing was why. Me? I don't know which one to pick. No matter which you pick, your fate is already decided. She was admitting it herself. I was certain then, based on what I felt inside, there were less than 10 pieces of paper inside this box. In other words, there were hidden pieces of paper I couldn't touch, somewhere inside the box. I smiled at Mion as I figured out her trick, but she had no clue why I was smiling. I'm taking this one. Sure, let me see. Wow, the club members are all divided into separate groups. Mion behaved as though this was news to her. She's such an actress. The other contestants made a dissatisfied noise. They'd have to face a club member, no matter which table they got. Keiichi was surprised too, and not only because we were divided. See? Fate's already been decided. I smiled at him in return. Keiichi was in denial for a moment, but then he smiled back at me. Possibility was 1 in 25. I'm impressed. It was not. I predicted Mion and Satoku would be at a different table, so the possibility was even lower than that. Keiichi understood that, but normal people like him can't understand the meaning of fate. So it's she did like a prediction for 4 people. A prediction for 4 people. So like 1 over 5 to the 5th, 1 over 5 to the 4th. That's pretty low odds. You're looking at like 0.8 divided by 5 for a percent of that happening. That's why he put it off as a coincidence. But Keiichi, what if my prediction is right about what game you'll be playing? The possibility will be 1 in billions. There's a lot of games in this store. What if the prediction is right too? Will you still believe it's a coincidence? I stayed quiet in my seat and waited to see what game my group was going to decide on. They were going to choose the fishing game. I can't expect them to choose anything other than that. Can't have high expectations. Otherwise I'll be hurt again. One of the boys stood up. He walked toward the shelf full of games and picked up one box. He lifted the box above his head and turned around to show it to us. I closed my eyes as he did so, but I could still hear what he was saying. Check this out. You guys remember this? We should play this one. Yeah. Still want the spinning fish, right? I could taste the bitter chemicals from my brain in my mouth. I clenched my lips and tried to endure the numbing feeling. Sorry. I guess I'm not doing well today. For some reason, I can't just accept this flow. It wasn't because I wasn't feeling well, of course. It was because of my emotions. Our powers are getting weaker, and we can only rewind about 2 weeks of our lives. I was feeling that the end was near for us. In order for me to change my tragic fate, I need more time to prepare, but I can only go back 2 weeks? My power to resist my fate has significantly weakened. But even if I become as weak as a small leaf in the river, I should be able to do something to change my path. I can only go back to the point where I'm getting ready to be swallowed into the whirlpool. There's no chance for me to escape it. I lived for so long believing I could eventually escape it and survive. I believed I had a chance in every moment of every life I lived. But there are limits to those chances. There are so many limits in my repeated lives, and perhaps this might be my last chance. It might be why I'm feeling so restless. Stop it, Rika. How do you think about it? The worst will be on your mind. I know. Just be quiet already. My brain was numb, as if surrounded by a gray mist. I was inside the crowded toy store, but it felt very far away from everyone else. The tighter I closed my eyes, the harder I clenched my teeth, the emptier my head became. Oh, no. Rika, are you okay? As I tried to focus, I became conscious again. Hanyuu looked at me with concern. I tend to lose my mind easily right after coming back from death. I usually have more time to relax and get used to my new life, but I have no time for that now. The Watanayashi festival is only 2 weeks away. I can't relax and wait for myself to get used to things. Don't be a wimp, Rika. Don't be a wimp. Fight against that fate. But even if I do, that fate will always betray me, and I'll grieve. What if I did the opposite? What if I didn't fight against fate? A few weeks after the Watanayashi festival of 1983, I die because I'm fated to do so. Fight? Don't fight? Fight? Don't fight? Fight? Don't fight? I don't know. He's just thinking, fight or don't fight. As I repeat the same words, they start to lose all meaning, and I felt like I was chanting something. I bit my tongue in my mind and forced myself to stop thinking about it. I was calming down a little. When I opened my eyes, I saw the fishing game in front of me, as well as my pole. Someone placed it there while I had my eyes closed. It was as if I was seeing the immovable reality of fate right in front of me. It felt like a final verdict to me. What do you think, Keiichi? This is what fate's all about? Do I want to earn his agreement or his sympathy? I stood up and walked towards Keiichi's table. His group couldn't decide on a game, so the store owner was deciding for them. And just like last time, the store owner will pick the game of life. Kind of unfair to play a game your opponent chooses. We couldn't decide on anything because we kept refusing each other's suggestions. Is your table deciding what to play? You can see for yourself. He looked at my table and saw the fishing game. Keiichi was surprised to see my prediction was right again. He also remembered I predicted his game too. So you're saying the owner is going to bring out the game of life, as you predicted. I'm pretty good at predicting things. Are you serious? Alright, I'll believe you if he really brings us the game of life. Bet? Your group's going to play the game of life? Fine, I'm willing to bet you. Don't you cheat and talk him into it. He wants you to play a game he has a lot of, so we'll be bringing that one in. I remember it was covered by dust when he gave it to them last time. Since we had to buy the game if we lost, he was trying to sell products he had a surplus of. It's a miserable game at that. Therefore, he won't be choosing a game at any game at random. That's true. It's actually a good thought, honestly. Of all the decisions, that's probably the least random decision. It's one of the least random decisions to pick Keiichi's game, because Keiichi's letting a store owner decide, and the store owner is trying to make money. So he's selling dusty old games that nobody plays. And honestly, if you played the game of life, you know it's fucking boring. Well, okay. It's not my kind of game. It's not my kind of game. You spin a dial, you move forward, and you may or may not get some random money, and then once you reach the end, that's the end. Not a lot of decision making. There's one decision in the whole game. That's right at the start, whether or not you go to college. He'll be looking for one with bad sales, with a strong will to do so. That will of his will make the pull of fate all the stronger. In that sense, there's no guarantee he'd be choosing the game of life specifically. He might choose something else that's also overstocked. The owner finally reappeared with a box covered in dust. Oh. Told you so. He has the game of life box in his hand. The part of me that hoped it wouldn't be the game of life tasted bitterness at the betrayal, but the cynical part of me that expected it to happen found it amusing, in a way. I felt like my personality was twisting more and more. Why'd you pick that game? Huh? Well, I just picked it at random. I found it in a pile of inventory I have in the back. It's not like I brought the most beat-up one. When he heard that the owner chose the game randomly, Keiichi shrugged his shoulders in confusion. That must be his way of surrendering. Hey, Rika. Is this really a prediction? Hey, Paula. She's just like, haha. Well, some old people from the village once told me you're the reincarnation of Oyashiro-sama. They told me you have special powers. They said your predictions are always accurate. Is that really true? I was surprised that Keiichi actually believed the superstitious stories he heard from the villagers. I just know that which is destined to happen. Make it clearer it's because I've already witnessed this world once before. Damn. I can't even make fun of you. Keiichi seemed like he was just fooling around. He probably only thinks I'm goofing off and acting haughty because my random predictions all came true. I had hope for him. I thought the owner might bring a different game because Keiichi once had the power to change fate. But it seems that it's not to be the case yet. I mean, we're only in like the second chapter. I predict we're going to see some changes in a couple chapters, though. This is only the second time we've actually seen this competition play out. And this time the competition's being changed slightly because Rika's talking to Keiichi about fate and making predictions about what they're playing or where the seating arrangements will be, which isn't what happened the first time we played this. I'm curious to see where her discontentment with the present and the future lead us. I'm hoping she pushes us somewhere interesting. It might be somewhere worse, but worse is still interesting. And worse means she can change things. But here we go again. That didn't happen. I'm not surprised, but I feel betrayed again. Hurts. It hurts. I won the bet. I speak to Keiichi sarcastically. I wanted him to understand that no one can change the path of fate. However, Keiichi did nothing but smile. Don't get carried away, Rika. Don't just say you can read the future. For a guy, words like destiny and fate mean a lot more than you think. They're not things you can figure out that easily. I had no idea what he was trying to say, but he made me nervous. It wasn't a scary feeling. It was closer to hope. You said it was fate the owner would choose the game of life. I have to admit your prediction was correct, but you also said something else. What did I say? You said I was fated to play it. Yes, it was indeed his fate. Fate can change sometimes with uncertainty and time, but the possibility it would change in this situation was very slight. I mean, unfortunately she's given him an easy out to this one. He was fated to play the board game, so you know what he can do? He can just be like, fuck you guys, I quit this tournament. I'm gonna, bye. Fate fucking broken. I doubted anything would turn out differently. In that case, I'll change that fate. Keiichi stood up in a hurry, and then he started talking to Tomita and Okamura, his group members. Sorry, but I own that game at home. I know every rule about it. What? Is that true? Yep. That won't be a fair game for us to play. Sir, I'm sorry, can you give us a different game? Sure, I'll bring you guys a different one. The owner picked up the game of life again and took it back into storage. As I remained there in shock, he returned with a game called Pop-Up Pirate. How about this one? Ooh, that's the one where we stab a knife inside the barrel. What do you think, guys? The fair game, isn't it? Rules are simple enough. You need help with FGO? What do you need, my dude? What do you need? I mean, the rules are simple. Let's play that one. Alright. Alright, we got a deal now. We're gonna play Pop-Up Pirate. So, Pop-Up Pirate. I haven't played Pop-Up Pirate in a long time. Game's okay. I didn't realize it was a game from the 80s, though. That's kind of cool. It makes sense, though. It's really simple. And doesn't have a lot of complexity. And most games from the 80s are pretty simple. At least it's... No, it's still pretty RNG. I was gonna say it's probably better than Life, but I guess it's more... It feels more dynamic and ends faster than Life. Keiichi winked at me as I stood there with my mouth open. It looked like he had just forcefully changed my prediction, but for me, it's not that simple. It was supposed to be fate. That's why the owner brought the game of life to their table. They were supposed to play that game. That's what happened the last time. That was what was supposed to happen. But he just changed the fate in front of my eyes like it was nothing. It's as if someone asked me to stand an egg on its end. And as I struggled to do so, Keiichi forcefully cracked the egg and made it stand up in front of me. I should have had far greater power than Keiichi, but why was I feeling so weak? Was it because I wasn't trying to fight against fate so I wouldn't get hurt? Because I was going with the flow without trying too hard? What was I thinking? You looked so bored a few minutes ago, I know why. You didn't want to play the fishing game, did you? Yeah. I'm not gonna hide it anymore. Well then, that's easy. So I'm a witch who's been living more than 100 years? So I thought I was better than everyone because I can see the paths of fate. It's stupid, I really am so stupid. Keiichi tapped me on the back. He was urging me to return to my table. The sensation of his touch filled my heart with emotion. I wasn't gonna stand by idly anymore. I thought I couldn't cheat fate. I thought 2 weeks wasn't enough. But Keiichi just defied his fate in a matter of 5 minutes. 5 minutes! I feel bad for the fishies when I play the fishing game. I want to play something else. The other people at my table looked at me with confused expressions. Their reactions were scaring me. Right at the moment, I could really feel I was facing the impenetrable wall of fate. But even so, I have nothing to be scared. Oh, sure. What game do you want to play? We'll play whatever you want. They accepted my suggestion and gave up on the fishing game so easily. That's right, I used to be so much more aggressive before. I became so tired, bitter, mean. I gave in to fate, but I'm not going to yield anymore. Keiichi taught me that. He didn't have any memories from his previous life, but Keiichi was still Keiichi. He'd never given to fate. The first time in a long time, I feel motivated to fight. If I want to, I can change destiny in 5 minutes, and I have 2 whole weeks to work with. I'm different now. I'm going to fight against fate. Let's do our best. In contrast to my motivation, Hanyuu was wearing a sad expression. They all seem so happy. They all seem so happy. Let's pray that death doesn't visit any of them. I see. We can't hold you here if you're gonna have to go help your uncle. Yeah, it's a pretty store small after all. Pretty small store, but you know... Could you have guessed that if you did a bargain sale, this place would be packed? I can't believe he's selling a carton of eggs for only 10 yen. As we were getting ready to move on to the next stage, Mion got a call from work. This was fated to happen too. I was still feeling depressed. I would have been disgusted with this situation, but after learning what it's like to change fate, I was in a good mood. Keiichi and Mion seemed like they kept regretting they were unable to settle the match. They really are such good friends. They're so close. I feel kind of jealous. We really do not have any other We really don't have any other boys his age in our class, do we? I suppose Mion is something like a male friend to Keiichi-san. Michan's a girl. She can't be another guy friend. Of course, I know that. But when they're together, they look like 2 boys hanging out. Rain and Satoku enjoyed the lingering excitement of the day. As they watched Mion and Keiichi happily goof off. The owner of the store comes out and gives them 2 gifts. The next moment, the owner of the store comes out from the store. Thanks for today, everyone. He brought me a lot of customers. He was holding 4 paper bags in his hands. I remember he gave us gifts as reward for today. I think there were dolls inside. Here, rewards for today. Hey, Uncle Yoshiro, don't I get one? He was giving them only to us. Mion didn't get anything because she's a family member. That's what happened last time too. Oh, look, something cute's inside. Satoko let out a cheer of joy as she saw a cute doll inside of her bag. Reina reacted the same way. It's so cute. I can't take it up. Can I take it up with me? Really? Did I get one too? Wow, look at this cute doll. Keiichi got a gorgeous, expensive looking doll. It was by far the best one. It was adorable, even to my eyes. Satoko, Reina, and Mion were feeling the same way. Keiichi got the one that fits him the least. Mion started making fun of him right away. She was only saying that because she was jealous that Keiichi got a doll she really wanted. Pretty and cute, I can admit that, but it's not really my type of toy. Yeah, people will think you're a pervert if you carry that thing around. Mion just can't be honest with herself. It was obvious she was trying to make him give up the doll so she could have it herself. She should just admit that and ask Keiichi for it. But that's the cute side of Mion. I bet Keiichi can never understand that. Keiichi can't keep the doll after receiving that much bullying from Mion. He was thinking about who to give it to. He probably didn't want to give it to Mion. Time froze for a moment. Point? Do like that thing where you just stand behind Mion, like pointing at her desperately? Trying to get Keiichi to pay attention to her? Do it. Hanyuu whispers something in my ear. Rika, do you remember? Oh, it didn't ask me if it didn't ask me if I wanted to see. It didn't ask me if I wanted to. Hold on, I'm gonna save real quick. It didn't ask me if I wanted to see the right and wrong answers this time, even though I installed the patch. Well, alright. I guess we're taking the right answer. This one does nothing. This one is going to be the bad end, because this is what we know. We know what happens when we do the bottom result. If we do nothing and watch events unfold, what's going to happen is Keiichi's going to give it to Reina, and it might lead us down a bad path. It'll lead us on the previous arc, the second arc, and Minagoroshi's arc. I'll advise him on who he should give the doll to. I remembered that Keiichi's insensitive decision eventually caused a fatal ending. That was fate. Keiichi was internally thinking he should give the doll to Mion. She was the one who didn't get anything, so it would be natural for him to give it to her, but the hesitation he was feeling was because Mion was such a close friend. He'd been treating Mion as if she was a male friend, but it would be weird to give the doll to another boy. He was afraid that if he gave the doll to Mion, he'd start looking at her as a girl from that point onwards. He wanted to continue his friendship with Mion without thinking about their difference in gender. He didn't want to ruin the relationship they had at the moment. That's why he couldn't give the doll to Mion. Even though she was the only one without a doll, he felt so hesitant. Of course, that was only how he felt. Mion didn't agree. In actuality, she wanted him to treat her more like a girl. I walked closer to Keiichi so I could talk to him. If Mion heard me telling Keiichi to give her the doll, she'd resist taking it. I had to make sure no one but Keiichi could hear me. I also had to make this very quick. I poked him in the back. Keiichi. The person who really wants that doll is the one who's bullying you the most about it. I was going to say that, but Keiichi opened his mouth first before I could even say anything to him. I know. I hadn't said anything to him yet, but Keiichi told me he knew. I felt a little confused, but not knowing what he just meant. He turned around to face Mion, smiling mischievously. Mion, if you think I'd look like a pervert with this doll, who do you think deserves to have it? Huh? I don't know. All I'm saying is the dolls aren't for boys. I see. I guess you can have it. Here. Keiichi tossed the doll to Mion as if passing her a basketball, and we jump back to the console animation style, which Mion still looks pretty cute in. As if forcing her to carry his bag or something. Mion's face quickly turned red. Feeling shy, Keiichi turned away from her. It was surprising. He got my message just by getting a tap on the back. Was Keiichi always that smart? Just one tap was all it took. I don't think he would have done the same in a previous life. This was just a small incident, but this world is definitely different from the previous one. Or could it be? Perhaps he would have given the doll to Mion even if I didn't poke him in the back? Does he have memories from his previous worlds after all? No way, he can't. It can't be happening. I know for a fact he doesn't have those memories. There might be something imperceptible inside his heart, though. He might remember some of the regrets he felt in previous worlds. That's a thought. That's why he strongly felt he should be giving the doll to Mion this time. After repeating so many lives, I'm the only one who could even notice this slight growth of his, but I can see it. It's clearly visible to me. Mion, having turned red, insisted the cute doll would be a much better fit for Reina. Her attitude made it clear she really wanted it, but couldn't be honest about it. I just, this whole man thinks that cute dolls like this are more for girly girls, you know? Doll doesn't deserve to be owned by a tomboy like me. Well, I know you want it. It's written all over your face. No, it's not written on my face. You're lying. Stop being that mean. Mion shook her head with an embarrassed look, pretending she wasn't interested in the doll. Everyone here knew that she wanted it. Well, we all looked at Mion with big smiles on our faces. It's not like I can only give this doll to a girl. Just think of it as my gift to you as a friend. Is that so? You give a good doll to a boy too? Well, I'd choose something else if I had the choice. Anyway, guys would never reject a gift unless there's something really shady going on. It's just me being generous. Why would you refuse? Oh. I can accept this doll, even though I'm not a girly girl? Everyone thought Mion's reaction was hilarious. She's like, subtlety 0 today. She's like, I can't be arsed to be subtle. I'm just gonna, like, half-heartedly do it. Satoko and I burst out laughing too. Mion, having realized she was being laughed at, got even more embarrassed. I'm offering this to you as a friend. I don't want to hear that you're not cherishing it, okay? Okay. Soul Man just wants to make it clear. He's not accepting this because he wants this doll. Uh-huh. He said he's taking it because he said it's a gift from you as a friend. He's taking it as a courtesy. He doesn't disrespect your generosity. Hanyuu was cracking up too. She was laughing in a loud voice, knowing no one could hear her anyway. Was this really a good way to resolve the problem? I thought Mion's issue in the previous life was that she wanted Keiichi to treat her like a girl. She got the doll, but Keiichi still wasn't treating her that way, and still, she looked happy. Maybe it wasn't a big deal after all. I'm sure Mion will take the doll with her to bed tonight. She'll kiss it goodnight, too. I could bet on that. It was written all over her face. She's finally accepted it. It was a challenge just for me to give her a doll. Keiichi turns around to face us, smiling bitterly. You did it, though. Yeah, it was perfect. Perfect. I'm impressed you managed it. Mion-san was hilarious. It was obvious the moment you looked that she really wanted the doll. It's true, though. Isn't that the truth? It's true, though. You guys, are you saying rude things about this old man? Knock it off already. Don't you have to get to work? You're gonna be late. You guys better watch yourself. Bye, Mion. Mion's fun. She seemed like she wanted to stay longer, but after looking at her watch, she started heading to work. Everyone was wearing smiles on their faces. Today was such a fun day. Everyone had lots of fun and no one was hurt. I've repeated the same day so many times before, but this time, something was different. It's like I rolled a die and got a 6. And then I rolled it again and got a 6 again. I don't know if this was just a lucky coincidence or if it was meant to be. But you've probably stayed off the annoying route that is, Mion Goat falling to madness. It's as if the god of fate celebrates my motivation to fight against him. So we stayed away from the 2nd and 5th routes? That's good. That's good for us. That's a good start. I'm guessing we're gonna probably get 3 prompts then. Good times is Oyashiro-sama. Good times! Yeah, he's great, isn't he? Let's look at this new tip. What do we got? Side story. I was watching TV with Satoko and Hanyuu after eating dinner. It was a variety show, and the performers were making the audiences laugh. We were laughing too. Oh, look at you now. It looks so painful. All the 3 of us were enjoying ourselves. In reality, there was only Satoko and me in the room. I'm the only one who can see Hanyuu. Satoko can't see her at all. Hanyuu responds every time Satoko says anything. Satoko can't hear her, but Hanyuu still responds to her when she's in a good mood. It's like she's answering a question asked on TV. You could even compare it to playing house. She started playing this game with other people because she can't communicate with anyone but me. Hanyuu always attends our club meetings and has a good time there too. If she could communicate with my other friends, she would have been a good match for us. But I don't want to hurt her feelings by thinking about that. If the story of the miracle written in the old scriptures is true, if it's really Hanyuu who performed it, she's someone who had tremendous power once long ago, but now she doesn't have any spiritual power, and I'm the only one who can even see her. She never told me how she lost her power. I just have to assume that her power diminishes over time. There's a legend in the family, though, that says Oyashiro-sama will be reborn if a girl is born to the family 7 generations in a row. With my birth, Hanyuu was finally able to communicate with a human for the first time in centuries. At long last, she can speak to someone. Does that mean Oyashiro's returned? The villager's image of Oyashiro-sama doesn't quite match up with that of Hanyuu. Especially when I see her lying on her belly and watching TV with Satoko. Yeah, but she has horns, though. She is the demon girl. Cute though she may be. Oh, you almost made it? You almost made it? Nice. Nice. The key things we're looking for are loads of damage, NP gain, and arts up. I hope you can continue to get it. Keep working on that account, my dude. You're getting there. You know you're close now, right? You can tell how close you are. You're like, you know that feeling when you like almost pull something off and you're like, okay, if I was a quarter second faster, I can do this. But I made like a 3-second improvement over my previous best, so I know I can get that. I think that's where you might be, where you're like, okay, so I need this timer. I need to get this like time attack. It needs to be a quarter second faster. I just did 2 seconds better than my last personal best. I can do this. It's only a quarter second, like a single animation, you know, a single improvement, and you'll have it. Well, maybe you'll have an idea at least. Okay. That's fair. He's not the best for Caskill isn't the best for arts looping support. He's definitely not the best, but if you don't have Paracelsus' interlude, he's definitely better than Paracelsus. Saving a turn is like saving seconds off, though. If you know how far off you are. It's more like the concept of being like 3 seconds away from something, or being like only a couple points of NP gain away from getting that perfect loop that I'm talking about. So like if you're using Caskill and Caskill's skills are like 4-4-4, and you know you didn't raise Paracelsus, yeah, that's annoying. I'd stick him in backline though. I'd stick him in backline for now. Get those bond points, level him when you have extra time. What else you can do with all the extra XP? He's pretty cheap. He only needs to get to like, I think it's only like 60 bond 5 or something like that. Get that interlude. He's way better than Caskill for that though. So if you can't do it with Castoratoria, he's way better. Paracelsus, Caskill, the only thing he gives is like 30% arts up, and that's when his art skill is at 30%. Or is that level 10? Paracelsus gives like 20% arts up and 50% NP gain if you get his skills to max, so he can do a lot of work. What? I know I heard some people mention it before, but they were serious about that? This world always has a lot of nice suggestions, but they're mostly out of politeness, right? They're just something you laugh off and reply with, oh, that'd be nice. That would be nice, wouldn't it? Those ideas generally end as jokes. It's crazy when they turn real. Yeah, I'm serious. Uncle Yashiro was giving you a ton of praise too. He said it's amazing how well Pop-Up Pirate Game went to the toy store yesterday. I had no idea you could play the game like that. I should mention that some of the kids around my table wanted to play with you too. Keiichi's a genius when it comes to playing games. You know, I wasn't just playing around. I was giving my all because I had no choice but to win. I guess we made it look like a lot of fun for the audience though. Oh my god, what is Shion doing here? Holy crap, it's Shion in school? Oh my god, it's so nice to see Shion. You definitely have a blast no matter what sort of club activity you're doing, Kei-chan. Coach was saying the Hinamizawa fighters would be so happy if you joined the team. Very true. Dr. Erie has nothing but great things to say about you at the meeting last night, my Barakun. You have the ability to bring people joy, far more than you think you do. You think so? This old man didn't mention your name just because you're his friend. He did it because he's confident you can do the job. I was there at the meeting too. No one was against the idea. Hi, Bahar, you honestly have a good reputation around the village. Damn, this one little change, it's like we moved one pebble and started a fucking landslide, and we're like watching the start of it. You know, right when you see like, you know, it's not, we aren't seeing like a massive landslide. We're seeing like, we kick a rock and we see like 10 more rocks moving, and we're like, uh-oh. We're right at that point. We're like, oh, something's changed. I heard good things about you in Okonomiya, too. What you did in the match between the Hinamizawa fighters and the Okonomiya Titans was legendary. It really was incredible. Reporters, they were there to see Kamada-kun, but they were more impressed by you. We're talking about that rigged baseball match I set up with Kamada-kun. The public did end up believing that talented pitcher walked me out of fear for my insight. Kamada-kun and I have entered a strange relationship since then, but I'd really rather not talk about it right now. What do you think, Keiichi-kun? Think you can do it? I'm backing you up too. I definitely think you should be in charge of the Watanagashi Planning Committee. Wait, whoa, what? Watanagashi is an annual village festival held in June. It's supposed to be the biggest event in the village, and most of the people living here gather for it. Since this is a major event, they always organize a committee to plan out the festival a few months in advance. The festival is 2 weeks away, and I just moved to this village? But now they want me to join in that committee? Look, first of all, I don't even know what you do in a committee. Oh, you don't need to be too concerned about it. The job we unanimously want you to fill is hosting the auction. What? You want me to sell bananas or something? Well, let me explain. I'm holding an auction event for the first time this year. I'm going to auction off donated items just to see how it turns out. There's kind of a long story behind it. This is completely new, by the way. We didn't have Keiichi ever do the auction, let alone have Shion show up in class ever, or have any of this discussion about them liking him at a meeting and having him do anything. We want to do something in which everyone can participate using donated items as prizes, but the elderly members decided to distribute the prizes using something other than a lottery for their own reasons. But it's simply, our hag of a grandmother let her temper get to her and wouldn't back down after that, but she didn't really consider any specifics. Yep. Anyway, we had to go up with how to utilize those donated items. At that point, we thought of doing an auction. The twins are here. It sounds like fun. You guys might be able to get something good for a really cheap price. Fun to watch the show, too. Yeah, and they're all donated, so they're free, huh? That committee sure is good at making money. The profit will be going into the beer fund for the village committee's winter getaway trip. That's what you're spending all the money you earned on? It's not fair. That isn't fair. You're not ready for beer yet, Furude-san. I think I understand what's going on now, but still, I've never done anything like it before. You're not ready for beer? Furude is literally over a century old in her head. I'm sure you can do it, Keiichi-kun. I bet you do really well. I told you you'd get to keep 10% of the profits. But, yeah, if I can gain something for producing results, I'll do my best at it. On the other hand, you might be facing a dreadful penalty game if you don't produce anything. Wait a minute, Satoko. Why would I agree to a risky deal like that? Don't forget, they're the ones asking for my help. I'm a busy guy, you know? Try asking my agent first. Alright, Kei-chan. If you want some kind of compensation, we can talk about it. I really want you to be part of this. We can make a deal. That sounds interesting. I wonder what I should ask for. We're always talking about punishment. It's our first time talking about a reward. It's true. We're always fighting for something, huh? Reina's right. The whole purpose of our club activities is just to escape punishments we come up with. You think a lot of people will be watching it on Anime Japan? Nice. Even if we win, we never get a prize or reward for it. Hey-chan has no idea how to respond to something. It sounds too good to be true. Maybe me-chan can come up with a good idea. It's hard to decide on what you want, isn't it? Let me see. How about this? An admission ticket to Angel Mort's Dessert Fiesta. Oh, don't be too cheap, sis. Why don't you give him 3 years worth of admission? Hey, that sounds more like a deluxe reward to me. I heard some people pay lots of money for that ticket. Are you sure you can hook me up with 3 years worth of admissions? Oh, of course I can, but you have to do a good job. I'm sure you will. With Keiichi-kun there, it's gonna be heaps of fun. I feel the same way. I'm really looking forward to the auction now. Damn, I don't recall ever seeing her in her school outfit. It looks really nice, though. I wonder why she's here. I'm not complaining, though. You probably get people to line up for takoyaki that doesn't even contain octopus. Hey, takoyaki without octopus? That's impossible. Oh, he can do that. He can do that. No, I'm pretty sure he can do it. Yeah, you'd probably say it was healthier kind of takoyaki. Wait, are you making fun of me? It might be a little bit. What do you think, Maibara-kun? I think you'll do a wonderful job. Chie-sensei was also on the committee. Yep, he'll do well. He can sell just about anything. She must have backed up Mion's suggestion when she brought my name up at their last meeting. I'd also love to see what kind of magic you can do. Keep power. A good auction always depends on how good a speaker the host is. Sounds like it's gonna be Keichimaibara's big show. It'll be so much fun just to watch. I haven't accepted the offer yet. Don't worry, Keiichi-kun. You can do it. You're saying that because you don't have to. That's not true. The principal suddenly opened his mouth. Ibara-kun, in my opinion, you'll do a fine job. The principal, who's an expert martial artist? As a man, isn't it your responsibility to meet people's expectations? If I had to, I'm sure I could do it. Mion made me do so many different things for the club. I've learned a lot from that. Besides, this would be the first time I could get a reward without having to worry about punishment. It should be fun, too. This was the first time so many people were counting on me like this. To be honest, it made me pretty happy. Still, I was worried about getting dragged into something that required a lot of work. I couldn't erase that thought from my mind. But I was in Hinamizawa. The people in this village would never do anything to betray me. They genuinely believed it would do a lot to liven up the festival if I became host of their auction. I've only been here for a short period of time, but I know the people here are honest and kind. Fine. As a man, I'll do it. I'll take care of it. Wait and see. I'll make it the greatest auction in the world. Don't forget to get me that Angel Mort pass. I'll make sure to do a good enough job. I'll deserve 10 years worth of tickets. Good for you, Kei-chan. Oops. Anyway, everyone gave me a round of applause. How many times did this happen in my life? Not once. This was the first time I'd ever been applauded. Good job, Kei-chan. Good job, Kei-chan. By the way, I'm surprised no one disagreed with the suggestion at the meeting. There's lots of old people in the village committee. I'm a young guy who just moved here. I've known for a while Mion has a lot of influence locally, but I couldn't believe everyone in the committee would just accept it like that. Most of them are that kind of hard-headed old people, but the new generation's gradually taken over, you know? We won the damn conflict, and now we're aiming to build a new era and grow more and more prosperous. That's why we value the involvement of young people. And from the outside the village, too. You're young, you're from the city, you have a good reputation, you're the perfect guy for this. I have a good reputation, huh? I have no idea why so many people have heard of me. It's something to do with Mii-chan's punishments, I think. Everyone's heard of you because you've run around in, like, a cat suit. Or in a skirt and a tube top, or like, the amount of horrible punishments he's done are the reason he's well known. Yeah, that makes sense. I knew it. He'll never be married in this town. Right then. I'll call your parents about it tonight. Please let them know when you get back home today, okay? I'm sure my parents will have no problem with it. They won't have any objections to raise, at least. They might ask me why my name was brought up, though. Chie-sensei and the principal went back to the office after the discussion ended. We were in the middle of lunch break at the moment. Chie and the principal had come along together, and Mion scared me by saying they all had something to talk to me about. Ooh, that's just like Mion. My stomach wasn't digesting my lunch particularly well. Ibara-san, I heard everything good for you. It's a big honor being chosen by the village committee. Hey there, Tomita and Okamura. I'd love to give that honor to you. No, thank you. I wouldn't be able to handle it. I realized the whole class was talking about me. They were saying how much fun Watanagashi was going to be and how high their expectations were for me. I might have taken on a huge responsibility. I need to do my best to succeed at it. So, we're going to have a different run of the festival this time, since he's running the auction. This is going to be interesting. By the way, I forgot something. My granny made tons of ohagi. She told me to give them to my classmates. Mion clapped her hands as she remembered, and took a box out of her bag. She opened the lid, letting us see a bunch of ohagi neatly packed inside. Wow, there really are a lot. I think there might be enough for everyone in the class to have one. Oh, it looks so yummy and cute. Oh, for some reason my granny loves making ohagi. That's because Sohei used to love them. Ah, yeah, I heard my gramps used to like ohagi. He ate tons of them. Your grandma, ohagi, something makes her remember your late grandpa. You think so? I thought Gramps liked canned food. You don't like canned food, do you, Shion? What? Is that true? Why so? Well, it's because of the smell. I just don't like the smell of the metal. Oh, is that so? After always forcing me to eat my squash, it turns out you have something you can't eat. Tell you the truth, She hates canned food because... Come on, sis. Don't you dare tell anyone. I don't know what's going on, but it seems Mion knows a secret about Shion. Tell it to us. Tell it to us. Go on. The reason Shion doesn't like canned food must have been something pretty funny. The two sisters battled for a while. The machine gun knee kicks Mion launched from the close quarters weren't bad, but I don't think she expected Shion to land a capture suplex of it. I guess Shion's the stronger of the two siblings. I'd rather tell you the truth than have it you hear it from my sis. See, there's this bad guy named Kasai. He once told me, when I was still young and innocent, there's sometimes human meat mixed in with canned food. I've heard an urban legend like that before. Me too. I once heard there's dog meat mixed into beef bowls and worms inside burgers. Are you quite serious? I can never eat beef bowls or burgers again after I eat something like that. Oh. You see, Sadoko? It was a very traumatic thing for me. You have my sympathy, but I have yet to forget about how you made me eat a full-course squash meal. You need to let go of that one. The meal was delicious. Because we're talking about this, I'm starting to get worried there might be something mixed into this ohagi, too. Oh, well. At least with the ohagi I brought, you can't really be sure there's nothing else inside. Ohagi that Mion brought. When you consider that, it's only natural to suspect she probably did something to them. Wait, what's going on? I felt like I was forgetting something. But I didn't remember anything I was forgetting. It's like one of those deja vu moments. I've never been in this situation, but my mind's telling me I've been here before. What's wrong, Keiichi? Nothing. I just feel like, it's given me ohagi before. This is the first time, right? Is it? Michan? I think this is the first time. You must be mistaking it for something else. According to my memory, this is the first time Mion's brought ohagi to school. And Rika's just like dead silent. she's like, oh, interesting. Seems like it's happening a second time. Notice, Rika just explicitly says nothing. If Rika doesn't say anything in a scene, she normally just doesn't show up. Like if a character doesn't say something, they don't just randomly have an ellipsis there. Obviously we know, because we've been reading this scene, that that's relevant, but they're pointing it out to us here. I know. You're being cautious because these are from this old man, aren't you? That's nothing to brag about. I think you should be reflecting on your irregular behavior. You're right. I wouldn't feel this way if Reina brought me ohagi. Reina's really good at cooking. They're small but very carefully made. Huh? I've never made ohagi before. What? What was I saying? Why did I say Reina made ohagi before? Why would I know that Reina makes her ohagi small but neatly? I had no idea where that memory was coming from. I could only assume it was an error in my brain. Mion was saying this was her first time bringing ohagi to class, and as I tilted my head in confusion, everyone started reaching inside the box. Reina took out one for me and put it on the lid. I stared at it closely. What was I so concerned about? Mion said I was probably concerned she did something to the ohagi, but it wasn't quite that. I really didn't know how to explain it. I felt like I was forgetting something important. I'd forgotten something important. All I had was the obligation to remember it. In front of me was nothing but a single ohagi that came from Mion's house. I was frustrated. But I really couldn't think of anything. There was no way I could remember it, right? Because I didn't know anything. Keiichi, staring at your ohagi for a long time. What's the matter? Oh, it's just... I'm experiencing deja vu. Do you get it sometimes? It's your first time seeing something, you feel you've seen it before? Do you feel like Mion's given you ohagi in the past? Yeah, I'm sure it's just my imagination. Mion told me she had never brought ohagi to school before. Keiichi, you can't have memories of what didn't happen. If you remember something, I'm sure it really happened before. Rika told me something strange, and phrased it in a very curious way. I didn't usually take her random comments seriously, but ever since I saw her making those predictions in the toy store, I've been curious about her special powers. I felt like she was telling me something deep. Oh boy, ascribing deeper meaning to things. Here we go. It's weird to hear that from you. You're so great at making predictions. Are you talking about the cycle of reincarnation or something? I don't know much about religion. I just want to tell you that if you know about something, that something happened to you. I want you to try and remember what happened. I don't want you to treat it like you're mistaken. You understand what I'm trying to say? I guess? I was a little surprised by how serious she sounded. I always thought Rika was an innocent girl who fooled around all the time saying things like, me? Or Nipa? But all of a sudden she seemed like a totally different girl. Was I supposed to take it as a joke? The serious look on her face told me it wasn't the time for jokes, though. Well, if that's what you're telling me, I guess I got Ohagi from Mion in a previous life. I won't make fun of you. Tell me everything. Why did me give you the Ohagi? The more I think about it, the more I think it's just my imagination. Maybe it was a dream? I don't care if it was a dream. You must remember something. Tell me. Be a weird conversation. I know it's a visual novel, so we can only see two people, but just imagine her having this conversation with you after you're like looking at your Ohagi while the other two are like eating snacks. You're just like having this serious conversation, like trying to remember the last time Mion gave you a Ohagi when she explicitly said that none of them had ever given him that snack before. What was up with her? She seemed so curious about it. I didn't think this story was that interesting. Her asking so much started making me feel uncomfortable, and yet something told me I needed to talk to Rika about everything I could. Maybe she could predict my future by reading my dreams? I guess I could tell her everything. After all, she's the shrine maiden for Oyashiro-sama. Well, I think I skipped school that day. I had a cold or something. My memory was scattered all over my brain like powder. I could see myself standing in front of the door. Mion was there, and someone else was standing there too? Oh, it was Reina. We're remembering again. Mion brought me Ohagi so I would get better. I think she told me her grandma made it, just like today. And then? Well, I ate that Ohagi, and after they went back home, and I found something inside the Ohagi. I'm sure I saw it in a comic book or something. It's mixed up my memory, but I'm sure I read it somewhere in a comic book, because it can't be true. Keiichi, tell me what happened. What did you find in the Ohagi? Well, I read this scary comic book when I was little. There was a sewing needle inside of somebody's burger. You remember what Shion was saying now? It can be traumatic to hear a story like that when you're young. I didn't remember too much about the comic. I think it was about this girl who had an accident and held a grudge against the person who caused the injury on her face. It was a really cheap plot now that I think about it, but since I was still a little kid, the comic really scared me. In one chapter, the girl casts a curse on the guy's food. He eats a burger with sewing needles inside it and goes all, ah, something like that. It still freaked me out. The image was grotesque and shocking to me, and it grew into a trauma. For a while, I searched for sewing needles in my food every time I ate something. I couldn't eat burgers for a while for that reason. But my parents got concerned, and my hunger overcame that trauma. Eventually, the experience disappeared into the flow of time. I'm still a little worried about sewing needles every once in a while. I don't think about it all the time, of course. It'd be rude if I poked at my food while eating lunch with you guys, wouldn't it, right? Of course, I know no one would actually put a sewing needle in my food. But you're still a little scared? Well, maybe I'm somewhere inside my heart. Oh, you saw a sewing needle inside the Ohagi me gave you? You saw a sewing needle inside of one? Yeah, I did. Inside that Ohagi, there was a needle, just as I feared. Wait, why was I telling her about something that was in my imagination? Mion and Reina came to see me when I took the day off school because I was sick. That never happened, so obviously my brain was just making it up. But I spoke to Rika because she said she wouldn't make fun of me. Are you afraid of this Ohagi now? You feel there might be a needle inside? Is that why you're not eating it? I realized Mion and Reina were looking at me. They were wondering why I was staring at the Ohagi without eating it. Meanwhile, me trying to figure out what an Ohagi looks like. Oh, you don't like Ohagi, Keiichi? If you don't have to eat it. Mion was assuming I didn't like Ohagi. She felt bad for forcing me to eat something I didn't like. In turn, I felt guilty seeing that sad expression on her face. Sis, you must be convinced you put something in it. I immediately denied Shion's remark. No one else would understand what I'm saying, even if I didn't know. No, I know for sure there's no sewing needle in Ohagi. A sewing needle? Oh, why would this old man put something like that in there? Of course you wouldn't. You're not the type to visit and bring something with you out of pure generosity. You might play a trick with Tabasco sauce or something, but you'd never put needles inside. You'd never do something as dangerous as that. I know you'd never do such a thing. I grabbed the Ohagi with my hand, and as I brought it in front of my mouth, I felt the need to check just in case, but I told myself clearly, Wimp, when are you going to stop being scared of that stupid book? Mion brought these Ohagi to treat everyone in the class. There's no way she'd put needles in these. I forced that stupid memory out of my brain and munched on the Ohagi. Oh, it's delicious. Of course it is. There wasn't a needle inside, was there? No way. I'm really sorry. I was just caught up in a traumatic experience I once had. My heart stopped pounding and I felt relieved. The next moment I got the urge to say something to Mion. It wasn't the right thing to say, but I just felt I had to say it. Oh, hey Mion. What is it? Yohagi was delicious. Huh? I'm glad I brought them then, even though they were really heavy. I didn't know why I wanted to tell her again the Yohagi was delicious, but I was glad I said it to her. I was finally released from that odd feeling. Well then, since Kei-chan overcame his fears and ate the Yohagi, you should eat the squash, Satoko. It's soft and sweet. How can that lunchbox always be so full of squash? You're gonna give me a traumatic experience. Does she just bring like a lunchbox filled with... I just want you to imagine, like, you got like your generic bento box. Everyone's got their generic bentos. And then Shion shows up and she just opens this bento box, and while you're expecting a variety of small like carefully made meals, inside of Shion's is literally nothing but squash, and she's like just, you know, it's like a pound of mashed squash, and she's just like eating it by the spoonful, and you're just like, why? Why are you doing this? She's just trying so hard to stop Satoko from hating squash. She's so passionate about it. Maybe she sees her in the future little sister. By the time I finished eating my ohagi, we'd returned to our usual fun lunchtime. Interesting, Shion's trying to help Satoko. We haven't seen Shion care about Satoko in a timeline yet. We've seen her hate Satoko and kill her twice. We haven't actually seen them be friends yet. This is the first time Shion is A, actually at school, which is really weird, and B, actually friends with Satoko. Keiichi, what if? What if what? What if what? What if you really did see a needle inside your food? What would you do? That's not gonna happen. Don't you threaten me, Rika-chan. Keiichi, what if it really happens? Rika looked at me with a serious face as I joked around. What's gotten into her lately? Stop. It's not gonna happen. I don't believe it will. I just overcome my stupid trauma after all that. That's why I made that firm statement. I understand, Keiichi. I'm sorry if I'm asking you so much. If you see a needle inside your food, it's definitely some kind of mistake. Don't ever believe it's me's fault. You're just gonna tell me not to be suspicious of Mion, right? Of course I won't. I'd never be suspicious of my friends. I raised my fists in the air. Rika finally looked happy. She smiled as if she was relieved by my words. Okay, successfully diverting Keiichi from the madness. Now we only have to figure out, has Reina or will Reina be killing Rina and Teppei Hojo today? I guess part of that matters is if Teppei Hojo returns. Let's see. Back home, it looks like. Are we changing perspectives to Rika? Might be Rika. The items donated for the auction were gathered at the Furude Shrine. There's so much stuff here. I expected to see towels and old furniture, but there's way more than that. This is Keiichi's, never mind. I see TVs and refrigerators. They're pretty new too. Yeah, impressed, huh? We got donations from the stores my family owns. Some of them were display products or leftovers they can't sell, but they're practically brand new. If you don't mind something a model behind, they're incredible, right? Seeing how Sunbleached the brand new sticker on these appliances makes me feel sorry for them. No, Satoko, that's a big selling point. Even if it's a little faded, people feel better using brand new tools than they do items someone else used. Me? Youngsters these days sure are picky. I don't really care whether it's new or not. All I care about is the price. That's Reina for you. Reina-san, you seem interested in furniture. Are you thinking about living on your own or something? Oh no, my dad and I were just talking about redecorating the house. Brand new furniture is expensive. I've decided on checking out these recycled ones. Is this a timeline where Rina and Teppei Hojo are not trying to swindle Reina out of money? Because she says her dad's thinking about redecorating the house, and in the previous arc, her dad was simping super hard for a gold digger and about to lose all his money. Interesting. So this is currently in our like shortened time frame. Everything is going really smoothly. There's no disasters happening this time. At least not that we can see from any of the angles we're accustomed to. There might be someone else experiencing a disaster, but it looks like Reina and Keiichi aren't experiencing the disaster, and we averted Mion's disaster, which means Shion might not do anything too reckless. We'll see. It's just an interesting thing to pick up there, right? She's happy and she's looking for furniture, because she wants to redecorate with her dad, when previously her dad redecorated with his dad had everything replaced by a Miss Gold Digger because she didn't like his furniture. For changing the furniture. That's quite a big deal. Yep, my dad finally found a job recently. We kind of want to make a fresh start out of it. Your father found a new job? Rika asked her. I was thinking the same thing. Did that mean Reina's father was unemployed until recently? Yeah, he didn't work for a whole year after he broke up with my mom. I was so upset. I was always telling him to get a job already. Reina explained that with her usual smile, so it took me a moment to realize how serious it was. If what she said was true, her parents were divorced and she wasn't living in a very good family environment. Reina talked about it like it was nothing. Her mother and father broke up? Yep. They got divorced back in the town we were living in before. That's why my dad and I came back to Hinamizawa. My dad couldn't get over the divorce for a long time though. He was always just sleeping or daydreaming. Divorces and breakups always wound deeper the more they love their partner. It's not really a bad thing your father was hurt so much. A romantic way to put it. Shion's still the best, and has the best fashion sense. Anyway, I eventually found out he was spending a lot of money at the bar. I was shocked when I looked at our bank account. Reina's mom's a famous designer. Their family used to make lots of money. Their father got lots of settlement money on the divorce. Yep. That's why he was able to pay for their living expenses for a while. Perhaps that's why it took him so long to get back on track. It's true. He had no money. He would have had no choice but to work. He would have had no time to be depressed if he kept himself busy. It's tough living an ordinary pattern of life. It can really mess up people's cycles. I understand, because it was that way for a while after I left the academy. Staying home like a hermit is the worst thing you can do. Staying home like a hermit is the worst thing you can do. You hear that, guys? You're exactly right, Rika-chan. Thankfully, this is set in the 80s and not the 2020s. That's why I had to talk with him. We talked about his responsibility as the head of the household, as a parent. You always look like you're really around. You're actually the most reliable person in the group. I'm impressed you even spoke to your father like that. It wasn't a big deal. I was shocked at first. I know my dad was spending his money on some lady. As his daughter, it really hurt to find that out. And then, what did you do? Well, it was no good to think about it on my own. I just kept thinking in a negative way. I spoke to Mi-chan about it. All I did was listen to her. Reina was the one who faced her problems and came to the conclusion of talking with her dad about them. You feel called out. I didn't give her any advice, but that was the important thing. Talking to people about your problems can help me now. Why is this, like, so far the perfect world line? We've had every single disaster we've seen in the previous 6 arcs are already previously averted. And we're on, like, day 2. There was only one disaster that could have potentially come up, and we came up, and we saved it. This is, like, the smoothest plot so far. Is that so? If she overcame it by talking to Sis, maybe her problem wasn't that serious. That's not true, she did. Before I spoke to Mi-chan, all I thought of it was how to hurt that lady. But I realized it wasn't a good solution at all. Talking out with him was the most important thing. What happened after you spoke to him? Well, we concluded he wasn't moving on because of the money. We transferred the funds to a different account, and I took charge of them. Now my dad has to get an allowance from me every month. Oh, it's as though you're the parent now. Everyone laughed along with Satoko. I wasn't sure if I should laugh, but I saw Reina laughing too. Anyway, the money was keeping her father from moving on. As soon as he remembered the value of money, he stopped going to that shady bar and got a job. It really was perfect timing. He was getting ready to pay the down payment for this lady's apartment. That would have been a mess. Talking about it like it's nothing, but it's a serious story. Ooh. So in our arc, she found that out late. Interesting. She found it out a couple weeks late. That was in his receipts. Several days later. That was in his receipts. So she's caught this one early. Interesting. Your family could have been ruined. That's true. I didn't talk to Michan. I kept on thinking about it on my own. I don't know where I would have been by now. I think I probably would have tried to kill the lady. Everyone laughed, hearing such a dangerous thing come out of Reina's mouth. Reina laughed too, but I saw something serious in her eyes. It was probably true she once thought about murdering that lady. She seduced Reina's father so that she could get money out of him. Knowing how short-tempered I am, I might do the same thing if it happened to me. I think she made the right decision in talking to me on instead of being irrational. I'm impressed. It's not easy to talk about your family issues. I know. It took a while to make the decision to talk to Michan. That one dream changed everything. A dream? Yep. Every night in bed, I think about my problems. So I was troubled, even in my dreams. And she had a dream where in my dream, I thought about what would happen if I didn't do anything. I don't know if what I saw was my imagination or prediction of the future. In my dream, I saw the lady living with us in our home. My dad and I don't smoke, but there was an ashtray in the living room. The futon in our room was hers. In the bathroom, there was a toothbrush and shampoo I'd never choose to buy. It was an unusual sight. It must have been very difficult and disgusting situation. Shoko never told me, but I heard she also lost her parents, and I'd heard she went through tough times when she was taken in by her aunt and uncle. Someone told me that once, right? Shoko seemed to understand Reina's pain very well. Yes, it was a really disheartening situation. Eventually I felt I didn't belong there anymore, and then something urged me to kill her. But that sounds way too realistic for a dream. What happened after that? I wonder if Shion remembers killing so many people. I realized I was a murderer. I didn't want to find out. I stopped trusting anyone. I spent all day at the place I buried her. I was afraid if I left it, someone would find out I'd kill her. That's a nightmare. I'm glad it was just a dream for you. I don't know. I wonder if it was just a dream. I think I saw my future. What would happen if I didn't do anything about the situation? I woke up the next morning, shaking in fear. I even felt like I smelled their perfume at home. I wondered if the dream was going to come true. I was so afraid, it pushed me to talk to Michan. I remember Randa coming up to me and telling me she had a secret to tell me. I honestly thought she'd gotten a positive on a pregnancy test for a moment. I can talk about it like this now, but it was very serious then. Michan's a dependable person. He listened to me and guided me through a solution. Eventually we decided I need to talk with him face to face. Perhaps it wasn't just a dream. You're right. I think it was more than that. Without that dream, it's possible you never would have spoken to me. It could have changed your life dramatically. A dream, huh? You had dreams too, Shion? Huh? Shion had said something in a small voice. Only Mion picked up on what it was. I don't know what she said, but based on Mion's reaction, she must have said something serious. So Shion does remember. She's like, oh yeah, I remember this. I killed all of you. It's like, oh yeah, I remember killing all of you. Turns out Oryu isn't responsible for all those killings, by the way. By the way, Shion usually went to school in Okinomiya. However, she'd been coming to school in Hinamizawa lately. Very curious, eh? Almost like she remembers something. I don't know why we ran out of power. It's kind of weird. So, in theory, we should be under a shit ton of pressure to unfuck our problems, right? Because Rika had less time. She couldn't travel back in time as far this time. So she traveled back in time like 2 weeks instead of 3 months. Except this time, everything that could go right before, in the span between like where she could previously travel to and where she is now, has gone correctly. In the way she desires. It's like she lived out every possible permutation of between 3 months from now and 2 weeks from now, and then literally got the best of all worlds solution there, and then moved forward. It's kind of interesting. And then she's starting from here because this is the only place she hasn't solved, rather than I'm just trying to think rather than It's like the only thing that hasn't been solved, or like the place people haven't like gotten their dreams to fix the problem. It's kind of interesting because now, so Shion's gotten her dream because she. So let's make it safe. I think we can make a safe assumption. Shion's going to school because she had her dream where she killed everyone and realized she was supposed to be friends with Satoko and protecting her in Satoshi's place. Reina clearly had her dream and realized that her family was being robbed blind before it actually became a huge problem, whereas previously she would never have known it unless she had this dream. Keiichi is getting something. Like, it seems like everyone's already getting dreams and premonitions of the future, and Rika's the only one who remembers everything cleanly, which is kind of interesting, right? So, I don't know why she chose to come this far, but she seemed to be having fun taking care of Satoko. I had no idea what brought Shion and Satoko together, but wait, weren't they on bad terms once? Huh? Is that true? Were they always that close? Or no? See? Even Keiichi isn't sure. Now I know. It's important to talk to other people. We'll have fun in a normal way. We'll laugh together in a normal way. And we'll fall in love in a normal way. We won't doubt each other. We'll trust each other. Friends have greater meaning than I thought. You can talk to them about anything. I finally came to realize that. You're right. You resolved not only your family issue, but you also realized the importance of friendship. Yeah. If anyone's troubled by something, I want to help. I really do. I want everyone to think they can talk to me about their problem. Me? Reina's saying something very important right now. Rika's right. We all nodded at her without joking around. A moment later, we heard someone locking the door. They were all surprised. That person didn't mean to lock the door. She must have locked it by accident, not knowing it was already open. She turned the knob, thinking it was now unlocked. Is anyone inside? A lady knocked on the door, and I could hear several others outside the door. Oh, sorry. Let me open it. Mion replied in a loud voice and walked toward the door. I heard her greeting the ladies from the town council. Hey, you guys let me ahead? What is it? It's a locked door, isn't it? I immediately saw why Mion called us over. The people from the village committee had brought another donation. As I recall, Oryu replaces half the stuff they're donating because it looks old and faded. It was an old cupboard. We all helped carry it inside the room, and as I walked through the door, I realized the Higurashi were starting to cry, taking over from the cicadas. I heard you're hosting the auction, Maibara-kun. Everyone thinks you're the best man for the job. We're all looking forward to seeing your showmanship. I'll do my best, but please don't expect too much from me. Sure, you say. You're here today so you can come up with an idea of how to sell these items. They have every reason to expect great things from you. I'll make sure my best then. The other ladies smiled and told me they were looking forward to it. It hadn't been that long since I moved to the village, but even these people offered me a position of huge responsibility during the festival. You could say they've accepted me as a member of this village. I caused so much trouble where I lived before that. I couldn't even go outside, but they were accepting me as a member of the village? I was so happy. I felt bad I still hadn't learned all their names, but I was going to do my best to entertain the villagers who were supporting me. What are you doing now, Mi-chan? You staying here? No, we're going home now. Right, Kei-chan? Yeah, I got a good idea of what we have here. I should be fine now. I'm not interested in Watanagashi, but I do still want to see his auction. Maybe I'll come to the festival too. You absolutely must be there, Shion-chan. It'll be great fun if we all hang out together. I disagree. She lives in Okinomi. She should go to the festival there. I think Shi-chan should come. I think Mi-chan will prove entertaining if she does. Since most of us want her to be here, it's decided. She's gonna come. Hear that, sis? You'll be in my shadow on the day of the festival, but at least let's be nice to each other. Ugh. I hate you, Shion. I hate you, Shion. I hate you, Shion. Whatever Mion says, I know they're actually close. The more Mion tried to refuse her, the more it was obvious how close they really were. Right, let's go. Make sure you get everything. I'm turning off the light now. We made sure we didn't leave anything inside, and left the room. I looked around the shrine grounds while Mion locked the door. This big place will be filled with people on the day of Watanagashi. The grounds are going to be at the site of the festival. Man, I can't imagine the crowd. I'm really looking forward to it. There's going to be a lot of stalls. It'll be packed with people. You'll be surprised, I think. I wish they'd quit being stingy and hold something every season instead of once a year. That reminds me, there is someone who visits every season. Huh? Who are you talking about? Oh, I know who you mean. It's that photographer I met the other day, isn't it? What was his name? You know Tomitaki, Keiichi? That's right, it was Tomitaki. I met him on my way back home. Reina and Mion told me about him. Despite his burly frame, he's like a fairly modest guy. He comes here every year to take pictures, right? This is interesting. Okay. What he claims, at least. Oh. Whenever I see him, I feel like Watanagashi's close by, and after Watanagashi, it's the beginning of summer. That's true. But the cicadas are already crying. It's gotten hotter early this year. I heard on TV this year's unusual. Something to do with the thing called global warming. I love me a hot summer. It's not a proper summer if it's cool. I agree. I like the different climates of the seasons. Cool summers, warm winters, disappointing. We gotta be as passionate as a hot summer too. How many of us are gonna be there at the festival? It's gonna be a battle of the 6 evils. Once again, we'll have a great Watanagashi this year. I agree. I hope we'll have lots of fun. Hey Reina, don't you know? When Rika says something like that, it's not just what she hopes for. It's a prediction. If Rika's telling us it's gonna be great, it's really gonna be great. That's our fate. Right, Rika? Yeah, that's our fate. Rika smiled with a "Yeehaw." Her smile assured me the day of Watanagashi was gonna be a great one for us. The auction won't be starting right away, will it? Nah, it's gonna be right before the ritual dance, so we have plenty of time to hang out together. Indeed. It's your first festival. You deserve to have fun. After Kei-chan's auction, we get to see Rika-chama's ritual dance. Sounds good to me. That means I don't get to see Keiichi the whole time. I have to stand by for the dance. You're gonna be the show too, Rika? What's that dance all about? Are you gonna do something traditional because you're the Shrine Maiden? There's a dance and a ceremony for paying respect to the cotton inside the futon. You should root for Rika too, Keiichi. You see? When Rika dances in her Shrine Man foot, it's so cute. I'm taking her home with me. I've never seen a real Shrine Maiden before. I'm sure Rika really will look adorable. I was looking more and more forward to the Watanagashi festival. Reina, Mion, Shion, Satoko, Rika-chan, and I, the 6 of us, will definitely have a great time here. How many more days did we have? I've never been this excited about a festival in my life. Interesting scene change. Wait, is this a chapter end? The chapter feels slightly short. I'm not complaining. But if it's a chapter end, I'm a little bit surprised. Not complaining. Because I think it's about as far as we're getting in Higurashi tonight.